Hello everyone, how are you all? First of all, welcome to Azure DevDay Pune. And you all might be having a question that what actually Azure DevDay is. Firstly, I will answer that question, and you will get an idea what actually Azure DevDay is and what is the main mission behind hosting Azure DevDay in your city. Azure DevDay Pune is a Reskilll initiative in collaboration with Azure Developer Community and which is supported by Microsoft Azure. And we have Pune Tech Community as community partner with us. Azure DevDay is basically where you can interact with technology experts who will share their expertise and educate us on the upcoming technology trends, scope, and challenges we need to brace as we walk into the professional worlds. Most of us might be students, developers, or working professionals as well. So that's the main reason we are organizing Azure Dev Day. So you can connect with the technology experts and learn from them. So this event is free for all the technology enthusiasts, including developers and IT professionals. So the main focus of the interaction is learning all things Azure, of course, because it's Azure Dev Day finally. So in the past, we have hosted Azure Dev Days in cities like Chennai, Noida, and many more. So also this Dev Day was supposed to be an in-person event, but as you all know that the rain gods have been very active from the last week or so, and they have been very active in Pune. There are a lot of incidents happening. So as a security measure or as a safety measure, in the wake of it, we decided to shift the Azure Dev Day Pune to an online platform. So, what we can guarantee you is that it will be as exciting as it was before. We have been very lucky that all the speakers and our partner Global Technologies have agreed to be part of the online event as well. So, first of all, I would like to thank all the speakers and Global for the never ending support that they have provided to us. And so, first of all, I would like to welcome you all to Azure Dev Day Pune. Thanks for joining us virtually. And it's now you can enjoy the session by sitting at your home. So, I will just quickly introduce myself and then we can get started with the insightful sessions by the amazing lineup of our speakers. So, I am Runang Pawar, founder and lead at Club Tech Brewers and Azure Developer Community Pune organizer. So, I like to connect, learn, and help like minded people, and that's the reason why I have started my own community, Club Tech Brewers. So I am an active member at various hackathons and communities. So that's all about me. It was a quick introduction. And now, without any further ado, I would like to invite Siddharth Sir to the stage. Hello, Siddharth Sir.
Hello everyone. Hey Mrunang.
Hi, sir. So I will just quickly introduce Siddharth, sir. So we have Siddharth Vagasia, sir, who is an independent consultant, freelancer, and has worked with TCS, Infosys, and HP Globalsoft Private Limited. He is an expert and he is a Microsoft MVP in Office development. So today he will be helping us to explore about Azure functions. So yeah, that's all about Siddharth, sir. The virtual stage is all yours.
Thank you Mrunang. Thank you very much. Let me start sharing my screen.
Yeah.
Are you able to see the screen? Hello?
Yes, sir. We can see your screen.
Okay, perfect. Thanks Mrunang for the short introduction and yeah, first of all, welcome everyone to Azure DevDay Pune. We were very excited to meet you all in person, but yes, as Mrunang said, because of the rain god, we had to change our plans. But to keep things going, it was a very wise decision, from the Azure Developer Community also to basically convert this event into a virtual event so that anyone can join from the home. Definitely, what we can plan is an in-person event probably again after a few days once everything's kind of settled it down. But for today, excited to be here. And before I start, what I would like to do is I would like to introduce Pune Tech Community also, because we are part of Pune Tech Community and we have kind of joined in hands with the Azure Dev community to basically organize this event as a community partner. So we at Pune Tech Community basically are online and in-person tech lover group. What we are similarly how the Azure Developer Community, which is a global community. We are a local community in Pune, which basically are interested in more or around in Microsoft technologies. But the objective here is to basically, kind of collaborate, productive, and do the knowledge sharing sessions and providing platform for various community contributors to share their knowledge on here, organize various conferences, and also part of this kind of global events which are happening across all the world, and be the community partner and try to help the community by coming up with such initiatives. These are some of the social handles through which you would be able to connect with us. We have our own meetup group through which you would be able to, once you join, you would be able to get all the notification around the events which we are organizing and everything. Also, I would like to talk about the core Pune Tech Community Organizer team. We have Nandip Nanchan, who is also a speaker today. Then it would be me, Siddharth Vakasya. Then we have Smita Nanchan, who also would be conducting a session after my session. And then who is Kun Sangani, who is also conducting a session today. So these are the Pune Tech Community core organizing team. And yeah, we would like you to definitely join our meetup group, and we would like you to be part of our event as well. Thank you. With this, let me start quickly my session. So first of all, a little bit about myself. I'm Siddharth Vakasya, and I'm a Microsoft MVP and independent consultant. These are some of the social handles through which you would be able to connect with me. Today, I'm going to talk about exploring Azure Functions. So, because it is an Azure Dev Day, this would be an overview of Azure Functions on how you can use Azure Functions to basically kind of use in your projects and everything. The agenda for today would be, we will start with introduction to Azure Functions, then we will see type of triggers, in which scenarios you can use the Azure Functions. And I'll also talk about some of the practical use cases where I have personally kind of done this, use the Azure Functions to in the real world scenarios also. And then we will see quickly demo of how to create a simple Hello World Azure function, how to basically publish it, deploy it, and how to debug it. So the agenda here would be more or less to have a basic overview of the Azure function so that we know the basic idea of Azure functions and when we can use it. So first of all, let's start with serverless computing, right? I mean, if we talk about serverless computing, basically, there is so much of talk around serverless computing when it comes to cloud services. So if you think about serverless computing, it is more or less, basically a method of providing backend services, and it would be an on-demand basis. It means it would be as used basis, and basically what we will get out of it is we can write and deploy our code without much worrying about the underlying infrastructure, right? And Azure Functions is also one of the services from Microsoft Azure based on the similar concept. There are other providers also who also provides the serverless computing power, right? Now this is just a funny gig, I mean, though we are talking about serverless computing, behind the scene what you would see are the servers running, but it's just that we as in developer, or we as in solution provider, don't have to worry about the underlying infrastructure, and the cloud service provider would be doing it. But behind the scenes, definitely there are servers which are running, right? Now let's see quick an introduction to Azure Function. So as Azure Function is basically a services by Microsoft based on the serverless computing. Definitely, it follows all the design framework of the serverless architecture. It means it would be more or less carrying forward all the features and all the facilities which a serverless computing concept provides, right? It runs the code on demand. It means it will run on demand whenever you want to run it. And as obvious, because it is a serverless computing, we don't have to manage the underlying infrastructure. One thing which I would like to kind of highlight here is, sometimes Azure functions are also called as FAS, which is not an kind of concept of the cloud offering, but it's like function as a service. So it means what we are doing is we are creating small functions which are event driven in nature. It means the functions would be called, or the code would be executed based on an event which is happening somewhere in the system, or it can be ad hoc event which will have. We will talk about that later. Plus, it also provides some monitoring tools. It means that has all the features of the monitoring tools from the Microsoft application insights. One thing to note here is that Azure functions are more or less extension to the Azure App Service. So it also provides all the features which Microsoft Azure App Services provide, but it has an additional capability wherein, because it is a serverless function, serverless computing services, we only pay for the services or the execution runtime while on which our function is running. So we don't have to pay for the hosting or anything. It is basically an ad hoc, but still there are different plans which are available, which will go through it depending on our requirement, what we want to which particular plan we wanted to use. So that is for flexible pricing options. Now think about functions, right? If we think about function, um, what will it have? So basically we write a code, right? And there would be an event which we can call it as a trigger, which basically would execute the code, which will basically trigger the code to run something. And definitely, if you want to execute something, there should be some binding associated with it. It means there should be some data which should be passing in and out of that particular execution of the code, right? Because without that, probably it won't have any meaning. Yeah, definitely there can be some code which can be run based on a scheduler or something, which indirectly would be getting data from somewhere. Because once we are creating a function, or we are creating a code which is supposed to do something, it more or less would be either processing some data in terms of either input parameters or output parameters, or getting data from any external system or from the database. So combining all of these three functions, triggers, and the bindings, that is what makes the Azure function a serverless function, which we can basically use in our projects, right? Let's quickly see some key features. It provides multiple language support. It means you can write the code in C sharp, you can write the code in Python, Java, etc. We will see the different technology tech set which it supports. There's a pay per use pricing model. It means you have to only pay for the functions runtime. It means you have to only pay for the runtime of the functions. So if you have an Azure function which is hosted somewhere, and if in a month you have just basically the Azure function has only triggered 3 times in a month, right? Then based on the current plan which you have, definitely you don't have to pay anything, because there are some free services or free runtime which is available, and you would be only charged for basically this three execution which has happened. Another good thing is that you can bring your own dependency. It means you would be able to basically set up the Azure functions code, wherein you can bring the external dependency of the packages like npm, which is a NuGet, and also the NuGet packages. Because it is an extended service to Azure App Service, it will definitely have all the integrated security around Microsoft Azure, basically using Azure Identity Platform. It means you would be able to secure your functions using OAuth 2 and the different identity providers which are supported in the Microsoft Azure service itself. There is a simplified integration. More or less, when we say simplified integration, we'll talk about it in a little bit detail when we see types of trigger. It means it has some capability to do the integration with some of the external systems which are there in the place. And depending on which Azure functions we would be using, there are different trigger points which are available, right? And then flexible development, it means you can use any basically development tools to use, because it supports multiple language support or technology supports. You can choose your favorite IDE editor and to do it. The most favorite one definitely would be if you are going to use Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio, the full versions which is available, and it will allow you to basically kind of debug and everything. So depending on which technology stack you use, you can have the flexible development support as well. And main thing is it's an open source. It means you would be able to use the Azure Function SDK and to create your own custom handlers and everything if some of the languages are not supported. Moving ahead, as I was saying that these are the some of the technology supports which are there in Azure Function. So it means you can write in your Azure Function in .NET. when core.NET framework, you can also write in .NET Core also, which is very much supported and it's very much popular nowadays, so that you don't have to have dependency on any operating system underlying which. So it means you can write your Azure functions in .NET, and you can also keep the operating system version in the Azure portal as Linux also. You can basically deploy your Azure function to Linux also. You can definitely write in Node.js, you can write in Python, Java, PowerShell, etc. If any of the technology is not supported, you still have an option to write your own custom handlers. It means you would be able to create, there is a framework which is available through which you would be able to basically write your code into any language of your preference, and using custom handler you would be able to deploy that into the Azure functions app service, and then it will I mean kind of it will support. So definitely there would be some work around this because you are writing your custom handler, but by default there are support for all the technology stacks which have been mentioned in the slide. Now we have to also see what kind of resources it creates once you create an Azure function, right? So definitely it will create a function app, right? And then there would be an app service plan associated with. Either you can use the existing app service plan, or it will create a new app service plan part of your Azure function. And this totally depends on what kind of plan you are using. Depending on that plan, you would be charged for. And then it will create a storage account also. It needs a storage account because what would happen is, once you have the storage account, uh, when the code is being deployed there, if there is a need of a temporary storage, or if there is a need of a file to be created at runtime, everything, then in that case this particular storage account would be used. Okay. And because it is a serverless computing, it means the resources would be kind of warmed up as soon as a new request would come, and there would be some ideal time, and once the ideal time is done, it means no new request will come. The basically the I won't say server, but it will basically kind of sleep down or warm down the basically the all the resources which are being created as a part of the Azure resource to execute. And so it means it's basically at runtime. It means once a new request comes, it warms up the server, it executes the function, and then it returns the output or response and everything. And after that, if there is some ideal time, which is no new request has come, it will basically warm down the server again. So that is how it basically kind of use the serverless computing concept. Okay. And then definitely if you want to use the monitoring tools around it, you can optionally create an application inside, so that once the function has been deployed, and if there is something wrong in the function or something is not working, you would be able to use application inside to basically see what went wrong by using the logging information. Right. Now let's quickly see the type of triggers. This is important because this is the way we were talking about kind of simplified integration, right? It means that you can have a Azure function type of trigger which would be timer, which basically will execute a particular function at the particular set interval. So consider this as a like a scheduled job utility or something which is running behind the scene, and it can either run based on our configuration. It can run every 5 minutes, 10 minutes, every day, alternate day, weekly, monthly, etc. Then there is an HTTP which is very common and being used very popular. It's very popular and been very commonly used. It's when an HTTP request is received. So it means it will basically the Azure function will be triggered when an HTTP request is been received. This is more or less you can consider creating an API. It means you are creating a web service that any new request comes in a particular format on this particular Azure function app, that piece of code would run. Then there is Blob Storage. It will execute a function when a file is uploaded into Azure Blob Storage. So this is one of the integration point you can think. This integration point is with the Azure Blob Storage. It means if you have your own Azure Blob Storage hosted somewhere, and you have some automation in place where probably some files is getting automatically uploaded into Azure Blob Storage from an external system, and you wanted to process that file, right? Then you can use basically Azure function that as soon as a new file is uploaded or updated in this particular blob storage container in a particular folder, then the Azure function would execute. Then there is queue also. The queue storage would be basically, it's kind of and following a microservice architecture, wherein if you have small microservices which are running and basically trying to solve a bigger problem, Then it supports the queue storage. It means as soon as a message is added to a particular storage queue, wherein definitely you can pass some parameters to it, it will execute that function. Then there is integration with Cosmos DB. It means it's a NoSQL DB from the Microsoft offerings, wherein as soon as a function or a document changes in the particular collection, it will execute the Azure function. And Event Hub also. So it means again, if you are trying to create an IoT kind of application where different small functions has to run depending on the execution of the workflows which is being placed or which you are trying to solve, you can use Event Hub, wherein the functions would trigger based on whenever a Event Hub receives a new event, and depending on which kind of event it has triggered, you can call different Azure functions, right? These are the type of plans in Azure Functions. So consumption plan is the most popular and the one which would be used when you are trying to solve a smaller problems. It means when you know that okay, you are building an application something somewhere, and you wanted to probably create 3 4 APIs as a part of that solution. Then you can use the consumption plan, and then at that time you know that this is not going to be use so much daily, and you don't need that kind of availability, then you can use consumption plan. So this is the core concept of serverless computing here, because you have to only pay for the compute resource where the functions are running. Okay, but if you want to go one step higher and you wanted to use the premium plan, so this is where I was talking about the pre-warm workers. It means the kind of the workers which would be serving our request, or which would be running the Azure function, would be pre-warmed and running. Application would be running always without being any delay after being ideal for so and so time, right? And the good thing about this particular plan is that you can also connect to a virtual network. It means that you would be able to access the resource which are basically deployed in your virtual network, which are probably connected via on premises servers also, or on premises APIs also, which are there from the cloud offering. So if you have a virtual network which is created, it would be able to do it. With consumption plans you cannot do it. It is simply you can only access the resources which are available, or which are basically available to be called from the internet, right? And then there is a dedicated plan. It means this is more or less nothing but a dedicated app service plan which would be there, and it will have all the capabilities and all the features of the app service plan which you have. You would be able to connect to virtual networks, you would have monitoring tools, but in this case what you will do is you will be charged for based on the number of hours the service is running. Okay, it's not based on the instance or the request which has been made, but it would be a fixed cost service which we have to pay for, and it would be more or less, if you think about it, it would be kind of monthly payment which you would be doing, and it doesn't depends on whether you have actually make the API call, or whether the request was been made, or whether the Azure function has run or not, but it is a fixed cost in the system. These are the different Azure function versions. The latest one is 4x. The All of them are in general availability, and the recommended runtime for this function 4x is that it supports the .NET Core 6.0 version and the latest .NET Framework 4.8 version. If you talk about the last GA support which was available, it also supports more or less all the language, but it supports .NET Core 3.1 only, and .NET 5.0. It means .NET Framework 5.0 was being supported. Probably, I'm not sure. I have to also check, but the .NET 5.0 also should be supported here. Then there is 2.0 version and 1.x, which is the older version of the Azure functions. So it also carries the legacy version 2x version. If we can note here is that this basically version is right now in maintenance mode, so that no new enhancement would be provided, and all the new enhancement would be always provided in 3.0 and 4.0. One thing to note out is the timeout duration in the Azure functions. So Azure functions, because it's basically targeted to solve a specific problem, there are some timeout associated with it. It means you cannot run the Azure functions unlimited. Yeah, definitely you can run depending on the plan. So if you can see here on the slide, if you have a consumption plan with 3.x version, the default timeout is 5, and you can extend it to 10 minutes. It means you cannot have a consumption plan based Azure function which will run more than 10 minutes. So the maximum runtime of the Azure function will be 10 minutes. After that, it would time out. But if you go with the premium and the app service plan, definitely you get the unlimited runtime there. Okay. So this is one thing. It's important to understand that while you are choosing, if you want to go with Azure function, that if you think that your execution probably might be larger than 10 minutes, then you might have to upgrade to premium or app service plan, or you can go with Azure Runbook or something. But then Azure Runbook has a different functionality associated with it. Means you cannot write, .NET code or anything. But if you want to still use Azure function with an unlimited runtime, you can definitely go with premium and app service plan. Okay. So these are the some of the scenarios in which we can use, and the kind of trigger which would be there. So this is more or less what we have already discussed. Like if you wanted to create an web API, a web service, you can definitely go with HTTP trigger. If you want to process a file, you can use the blob storage trigger, that when a file is uploaded or changed. If you want to build a service where
Ronank, you are on mute. Sorry.
I'm really very sorry. So we have some issue at Siddharth Sir's end. So there is some network issue. So we will be back. Siddharth Sir will be joining us soon. So till then, if you have any doubts related to Azure functions, so then please feel free to post it in the comments. And once Siddharth Sir is back, we can take those questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to post those in the comments. And also stay tuned till the end. We have some fun. We will be having some fun exercises, some quizzes, and all the other stuff at the end of the session. So stay tuned till the end.
Hey, Nunak, can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, yeah, my internet got disconnected probably.
Yeah, not an issue.
Okay, I'll start sharing again.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry guys for the disturbance. I'll continue again. I was talking about durable from probably functions when I left off. So then we have responding to database changes, as we were talking about Cosmos DB integration, that as soon as a document is been created or updated. So when we talk about document here, because it is a NoSQL concept from the Azure function, we are not talking about the physical document, but basically a row in the collection in the table, that as soon as a row is been updated in the database, right? Then you can definitely run at the schedule task interval, in the messaging queue system. You can also kind of analyze the IoT data stream by using the event hub thing. So basically, as soon as something happens in the IoT device integration, you would be able to process that data stream and do based on the logic which you required, you can definitely kind of do the processing of that particular stream, right? And you can also basically process, if you want to process the data in the real time, you can use this signal R to and the Azure functions. There is an integration available through which you would be able to respond to the data in the moment for the real time integration. These are some of the practical use case, because as I am from the Microsoft 365 technology background, and more or less focusing on SharePoint and Microsoft 365. Some of the automation in which we had used Azure functions are to basically kind of create a default SharePoint folder structure based on the configuration and parameters. It means there was an Azure function which was getting triggered based on HTTP trigger, and as soon as something the trigger received a request, what it will do is it will start creating a default folder structure, which is the configuration is stored at the central location. Then there was an automation which we did, which was very interesting, wherein there was some external CRM system which the client had, and what they wanted was that as soon as a new client is onboarded in that particular CRM system, they wanted us to give them a web API that with which they will pass us the required parameters and everything. Based on that, we had to automatically create Microsoft Teams team and the channels within that team, and there were 3 4 default channels which we have to create, plus they were also giving us to create one private channel and things like that, so based on the parameters. So it was more or less automations of the teams creation and channel, which we can do based on the Azure functions. Then another thing was to copy files and folders from one library to another using SPFX extension. It means there was a SharePoint framework based extension. On clicking of a particular extension, the Azure function was getting called, and the Azure function job was to basically copy files and folders from one library to another, from one folder to another. Okay. On the similar thing, we have also done, wherein we were copying the files from the SharePoint to AWS S3 container, which is basically kind of a storage container service provided by Amazon Web Services, right? And then definitely we can also do a file share to SharePoint migration, that as soon as a file has been kind of created in the file share, there was a watcher which was created, which basically goes and watch the particular file share folder every 5 minutes, 10 minutes. If a new file has come, it processes the file and copies the file to the SharePoint and removes the file from the file share itself, right? So having said that, I have probably 10 minutes more, where what I would want to do is I would want to basically create a simple hello world Azure functions and Azure function. Then we will see how to call that Azure function and test it from the Postman, how to publish it, and probably how to debug it, right? So let me go to the Visual Studio. So this what I will do is I will basically use the Visual Studio Dev Environment Community Edition. You can use any other IDE tool which you wanted to use. This is 2022 version, which is the latest community version which is available. And what you have to do is, once you install it, you have to definitely make sure that you are kind of ticking off all the Azure development kind of project templates which are available. Otherwise you won't be able to see all the required project templates through which we can kind of scaffold to get started, right? So let me create a new project here, and based on whatever templates you have installed as a type of installation, you would be able to see all the required project templates which is there, which is supported in Azure, this thing, right? So what I'll do is I'll search for Azure function here, and I will say yes, I wanted to create an Azure function. Let me give a name, DevDay Pune Azure function. You can choose the location and whether you wanted to place the solution in the same folder structure or not. So this would be a C# based Azure function. It means you have to use C# as in programming language. Now the interesting thing here is that you can see that there is function workers which is available. So if what you wanted to do, because this is a latest version of 2022, it's basically by default creates the version 4 which has support of .NET Core. and that is what they are recommending. But if you wanted to create the Azure Function 3 version or something like that, you can use the definitely there would be the different project templates which would be available probably in Visual Studio 2019, which you can do. So we will use .NET 6.0 because we are just creating a hello world program, and this is where you have to choose the trigger point, right? So this is interesting. So we have just seen few trigger points which were available in this slide, but you can see there are different other integrations also which is available. Like for example, it has integration with the Kafka. Kafka is basically kind of an another provider which basically allows us to do the data processing and everything. Then there is a SQL input and output. So this is also more or less the new integration wherein you can basically respond to an event happening in the SQL server also. And you can see Rebitar, SendGrid. It means what if you wanted to send an email via SendGrid from an Azure function, you can use this particular kind of the trigger point, right? So you can see there are many trigger points which is available. For this example, we'll just use a simplified HTTP based trigger. And you can also choose the authorization level, whether you wanted to have the security at the author function level, you wanted to keep it anonymous so that nothing it is not secured, or you wanted to at admin level. It means that once an function is been deployed, you can have many functions created in a single function app, right? So that would be done at the admin level. For simplicity, we will choose the at the function level, and I'll click on create, right? So once it will create, what it will do is it will basically create a function, default function here in our this thing, and it will have a run function which basically kind of says that as soon as this particular function is called, so this is your function name. So if you want to change something, saying that hello world function, you have to change it here. Okay. You can also change the class name if you wanted to support multiple this thing. And then this is a basic function which you can see. It has one logging information. It is expecting one query string parameter name, right? And if it is also supporting the post method. It means either you can call the get or post, but if you want to remove either of them depending on thing, you can just remove it from here. And if it is the post request, it will try to read the data from the request body with the same name parameter. And once it has read the input parameter, depending on whether we have passed or not, it will either send this message back in the response, or it will just kind of give a personalized welcome message in the response back, right? Now without any changes, let us kind of run this. So what I'm doing, I'm just doing an F5, or you can just directly run it from the play window. And once it will run, what it will do, it will open a command prompt window and local debugger, and it will say that our particular function is basically running in this particular URL, right? Now because it's suppose get and post, definitely what we can do is we can go to URL browser, and we can just port it here, and it says it has triggered successfully, but you need to pass a name query string in the parameter. So if you think about this, what it has done is it has basically sent the first transpose because we have not passed the name as in query string parameter. But what if I pass a query string parameter, hello Pune, right? Then you can see that it has sent the personalized message. It means that a simple function wherein you have to pass an input parameter, either it can be a get or post, and depending on whether it is a get or post, you would be able to send the response back. So ideally this is a hello world program, but ideally what you would do is you would use this parameter based on your use case. You would definitely do something, right? Now coming to debugging, okay, let us do one thing first. Okay, what I will do is basically we'll see an example of hello world. We'll take this to next level wherein uh, we will just randomly kind of have two input parameters which is coming. Probably consider a scenario that this API is to get invoices from a particular start date and end date. Okay, and you have your database where you have invoices been created and everything, and you need to return back the invoices which are there in the system, right? So let me comment this. Okay. And here what we would expect is that we would expect that it will pass us the start date and end date in the query string parameter. And then we are just randomly creating some invoices. I don't want to go into detail of how will you get data from the database and everything. So it will just basically create some random invoices. To send a particular entity type of the invoice, we would send that, okay, let's send back the invoice date, the name, the amount. And this is just the constructor to basically call create the instance of a particular invoice, right? Now let us also import few namespace, right? And here if you see, okay, now uh, again what we are doing is we are reading the start date end date parameter, we are creating an array of the invoice instances, basically a collection of the list. And then we are using the random function to generate any random data within our function api, right? So ideally you can think that, as I was saying, that this would be something which wherein you would be actually getting data from your external database or api or anything, right? And we are just returning back the results. Now let me run this function. Okay, sorry, I have to close this and run this function again. Okay, so now the function is running. And what we would have to do is we would have to pass the start date and end date as the parameter, right? So same function name, the name of the function should be hello world function 1. The start date should be 2020 01 06, and end date should be 2020 8th August, 1st August, sorry. Okay. It has not responded back. Let us debug and see why it has not responded, or whether it is actually calling the function or not, right? So you can put the debugger point here. You can refresh the page. Okay, looks like it has not run properly. So what I'll do is I will close this window and I'll try to run it again. Okay, let us try now. No, it is not running. Hello world function. Sorry about this. I'm not sure whether it is. Let me do one thing. Let me try from the Postman.
Sir, I think the port number is different in the URL.
Okay. Oh, right. Thank you. Generally, the port number stays 7071. Now, if you can see, it has kind of started running. So let me go back and okay. Let us run now. Okay, it is 7289. So now what I'll do is I will call the same function here. I'll start date and end date, and I'll call the API. Okay, the debugging point is running, and you can see that it has written the array of some random invoices with random data, right? So this is how basically in the practical scenario, rather than sending the random data, what you would do, you would get the data from the database and send the data back, right? Now let us see, we have seen, a simple hello world program. Now let us see how we can create and deploy this to the actual Azure function, right? So for that, what we will do is we will go to portal.azure, and we will say, okay, like I wanted to create an Azure function. Sometimes the search doesn't work properly. Yeah, so you can see here there is a Azure function here. You click on create. You have to choose the subscription. You have to choose the resource group. What I'll do is I'll basically create a new resource group here itself, Dev Day Pune RG, and the function name demo. And then you can choose whether you wanted to publish it as a code or a Docker container. It means you can also use the Docker functionality, and you can use Docker to basically host your code. Then you can choose what kind of runtime you wanted to do. So we'll see .NET and .NET version 6. Region, you can choose any. You can choose the operating system to be Windows, and here you can choose the different plans which are available, right? So once you will review and create, it takes probably a few seconds to create the resources here. Once the resource is created here, the next thing would be basically to kind of publish this particular function to our Azure, right? So for that, you go to your Visual Studio. What you can do is you right click on the solution, you click on publish, and there you would be able to see where we wanted to publish. Okay, so depending on, there are different options to do it. Like if you want to directly publish it to Azure, you will use this. Otherwise, you can just compile the code, and you can the compiled code would basically copy all the required files into a folder. You can use the Docker container registry if you wanted to directly, put it into the Docker. And you can also use import publish setting to deploy your app. Basically, this is nothing but from the portal.azure, we can export the published profile and you use it in our this thing. For now, what we'll do is we'll say we wanted to directly publish to Azure, and then you have option to choose where you wanted to do it, right? Whether you wanted to have Windows, Linux, or using app container and everything. We'll say we want to do it in Windows. Then you click on next. So this is important. This is where you have to basically, kind of add your Microsoft account, where the Azure subscription or the Azure resource has been created. So I have already logged in. So if you can see, by default, it is showing me two Azure functions of which are there. This one was the one which I was, while I was preparing for the demo, I have created this resource group. And this is the new resource group which we have created right now. And if you expand this, this is the Azure Function app where we have just created from the portal.azure. And you just click on finish. So you can choose where you wanted to deploy it. You click on finish, and what it will do, it will just create a profile. So just please understand that doing this will just create a published profile for you. It is not actually getting deployed. To deploy, again, you have to either come to publish, and you will see similar kind of window, and then you have to click on publish. And once you click on publish, you will be seeing that the function would be published, right? Before that, one thing is that if you go to that particular function app, and if you go to function, you are seeing that there are no functions which are created, right? So because what we have done right now is we have just created an Azure function, but we have not deployed any code or anything. That is what we are doing right now from the here. So as soon as this publishing would be successful, then we would be able to see our Azure function listed here, right? So let me just refresh it, or let's wait whether while it is publishing. So it says it has built succeeded, it has published, and it has published, and then it is waiting for the function app to be ready. Now if you see here, it has automatically, we are seeing the Azure function app, the app which sorry, API function app which we have created. You click on it, and you would be able to kind of code and test it here. You won't be able to code from here because we have deployed as an package file. But if not, you would be able to also do it. Like for example, if you are using PowerShell or something like that, by default you can add it from here itself. Now let's test this from the hosted version of the Azure function, right? So for that, you click on get function URL, and you get a similar function which we used with the local host. Okay, It's just that the domain would be different, right? So if you come here and if you paste it here, it has a code associated with. So this is how the security works in the Azure function. So you are doing it based on the at the function level. So it has a unique code. Without this code, it will give you unauthorized error, and then you have to pass this query string parameters, right? So what I'll do is, after code, I'll just say ampersand start date equal to something and end date equal to something, and when you post this, you are getting similar results from here. So this is how you can, easily publish it and use it. The only difference from the localhost would be the domain in which it is created. You would be also able to see the domain in the function app itself. So wherever the function app resource has been created, you can see the base domain URL which is there, right? One more thing I would like to cover here is the log streaming, which we have talked about. Like once the app is published, how you would be able to see any logging information, or what happened once you have code was running, right? So as we can see in our code, what we were doing is we were, kind of logging this particular information, that it has processed your request. But ideally in your scenario, you would have so many log entries which would be created, right? So you go to log stream from the portal.azure once it is connected and everything. And now once I will send the request, okay, you would be able to see the logging request which was done. So this is the default logging which is done, which says, that it has triggered. And this is the custom logging that, okay, it has, functions and the process the request here. So this is how you would be able to kind of monitor your function. If something goes wrong, using the log stream, you would be able to log. So idea here would be that you have to add maximum log which you can add, so that from where and where it is running. Or by default, you can, if you are using any other logging mechanism, like storing your log into some persistent database, yeah, definitely you can still do that, right? So yeah, with this, I would like to conclude my session, that this was a very basic overview of exploring the Azure function, to see in which all scenarios we can use Azure functions, what are the different types of triggers which are available, and how easily you can kind of create an Azure function using Visual Studio, and you can debug it, you can deploy it and publish it by simple kind of click and configuration things. So again, thank you all for joining. Thank Azure Dev community for providing this opportunity to be part of this event. If there are any question and answer, Nunak, I can answer probably.
Yeah. So if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the comments, and Siddharth sir will address those questions. So meanwhile, I would like to thank Siddharth sir for the amazing session. Like, it was great knowing about which languages you can use for Azure functions, what are the different triggers, real life examples, and lastly the demo part was really amazing. So actually, visualizing it and seeing it happen in the demo is which helps you to understand the concept or the uh, particular technology better. So it was great. So thanks a lot for the demo part as well. So
Thank you.
yeah. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to put it in the comments so we can take those. I think no one will have any doubt because you have explained it really well. So it's
Or
really amazing.
or nobody understood anything, right?
No, no, it was really amazing.
No, no. Thank you. No problem. That's fine.
So thank you everyone. So now we are up with the next speaker and the next session. So let me introduce the. Yeah. So I would like to invite Smita ma'am for the as our next speaker. So I will quickly
Hello.
introduce Smita ma'am. Hello ma'am. So Smita ma'am is a senior tech lead at Tier to Every. Previously, she has worked with Emphasis as well. Also, we are glad to share that she is a Microsoft MVP in 365 development. She is a Microsoft certified trainer, and today she will be enlightening us on the topic of using cognitive services to classify your content. So, without any further ado, I would like to hand over to Smita ma'am.
Yeah, hello all. Good afternoon, and thank you for the introduction. Let me share my screen, and please let me know once you are able to see my screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so is the screen visible?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. So welcome all. Myself Smita Nasan, and today I'm going to show you the three cool demos. And irrespective of technology, you can implement it in AI using a cognitive and sentiment analysis. But before that, let me introduce myself. So myself, Smita Nasan. Currently, I'm working as a senior tech lead at Theatre Every. I'm a speaker as well as I'm an author. I'm a Microsoft MVP and I'm a Microsoft certified trainer. And this is the one book I wrote, and these are some of my social handlers by which you can just get in touch with me. So the agenda for this hour is firstly we will have an overview of Microsoft Azure Cognitive Services, and then we will explore the three major services like a computer vision API, custom vision service, and sentiment analysis API. So the firstly to start with what is mean by AI. So AI is all about amplifying the human creativity with the intelligent technology. So whenever we deal with any kind of data around us which is a imperfect data, so we learn and we form the conclusion from this imperfect data using some kind of reasoning, and then we use that reasoning to understand that data better, including text, voice, or images, and then we start interacting with that data in some natural ways. So this is what is mean by the AI. So whenever we talk or with or whenever we try to define that with Microsoft Cognitive Services, it gives us the wild opportunity for us to implement the AI. So the first one is a vision wherein we can understand the images and the videos better. Then we have a speech, so from where we can recognize the speech, speaker, and the content or the intent of that particular speech. And then we have a language wherein we can process the text and recognize what user want to say. Then we have a knowledge, so it is again a rich knowledge from the web that you can use with your own data, and then search to search across all these kinds of things. And then again in the preview feature we have a few of the things which you want to use before the general availability of that particular feature. So for this session, we will majorly concentrate on the Vision API. So what is the vision? So vision is mean by from faces to feelings. It allows your apps to understand the images and the videos better. So, if we deep dive into the vision, there are many things which vision can do. So, the first one is a computer vision API, then we have a faces API, then emotions API, content moderator, custom vision service, and the video indexer. So, each of them by name defines like what they do. So, during this session, we will mostly concentrate upon the computer vision APIs and the custom vision service. Those are helpful to analyze our images in some better relatives. So to start with what is mean by a computer vision API, so it analyzes the images, understand the content within that particular image. So even we can use OCR, that is optical character recognition, to detect and recognize words within that particular image. Even we can generate the thumbnails by scaling the images while retaining the key content inside that particular image. And then again one beautiful thing of this is using this computer vision API we can easily recognize this celebrity or even few of the landmarks which are already trained by the Microsoft for this computer vision API. So over here, here is a quick example. There is a cow standing on the grass in front of the fence. So whenever we try to give this kind of an image to this computer vision API, it can also give us a few of the categories describing like it is a pretty much sure that it is a some kind of animal, that it identifies that this is as a cow. It also identifies this picture has been taken outside on a field with a animal or a mammal standing in the picture on the green kind of in a background. So this describes all about this particular related to that image. So let's see now the demo for it. So for that purpose, let me go to this portal.azure.com, and from here we can create this computer vision API. Okay, let me go over here, and from here you can click on the create resource, and then you can click on this AI plus machine learning, and over here you have this computer vision API. So you can just create, again you have over here the documentation and the MS link available, so you can click over here to get the more details about it. So let's click over here to create this computer vision API. So I already created this computer vision API to save some of our time, but again I will show you how to do that. So over here you have to select your resource group. So if you have a already available resource group, you can select it from here. Otherwise you can create a new resource group. So in my case I will just select the one I have already available. Then you can just select the region. In my case I'm just selecting this is the east us because it is a pretty much old, and it have lots of good preview features also available with it. Then you have to provide some of the name, and then from here you can select the pricing tier. So over here we have a two pricing, one is for the standard S1 and another one is the for the free. So from here view full pricing details, you can see all the pricing details over here. So you can see there is for the free and for the S1, and all the features and the price details are already available over here. So as per your business requirement, you can choose over here the pricing tier. So in my case, I already occupied that free one. So just I will go with this standard one, and then you can just click on this review and create. And there are some of the validations, so you can just do that validation and then you can just create it. I will not waste time over here to create it as I have already created one. So once you create that, then it will give you a look and feel of this. So over here you can see all these details, like this is the endpoint. You can just manage your key from here. Then you can see status and the location where it is created, the subscription ID and everything. So over here we have a API console. So details are already provided. You can use this API console to quickly try the API without writing a code. So let's go to this API console. So over here we are going to use this analyze image. There are so many options available over here. So in this demo we are going to analyze the image, and then you have to select your region and you have to go over here. You have to check in which region your group is created. So it's created in east us, so again I will select the east us. So once you are here, you can just select your resource group that is already available. So in my case, I will just select this one that is already available. Then the query parameters are available over here, like visual features. So over here, it is having categories and everything is mentioned over here. So let's see, in our case, we will provide some of the images and we will check some of the tags for it. Then the language, and if you want to add some of the extra parameters, then you can add the parameters over here, and in the header you have to provide a subscription key. So from here you can get the subscription key. So I will just copy this subscription key and I will just provide the subscription key over here. And if you want to add any header, then you can just add a header over here. So now what is this saying, that input parameters, that it supported the images in the format. The images formatted over here, the image size must be less than 4 MB and the image dimension must be at least 50 by 50. So you can just provide any of the image URL and it will give you all the data in JSON format. So let's see, I have just already copied some of the links over here. Okay, I need to do one more change over here. Just a moment. Yeah, so over here in the details, I missed this part. So you have to select either it is a celebrity or the landmark. So let's go first with the landmark, that details for the landmark, and it is a Microsoft trend. Let me first show you the URL where which I'm going to pass to over there. So we all know what is this. So this is the famous landmark in India, that is the Taj Mahal, and I'm going to provide the same URL to our computer vision API, and let's see what is the result it is giving us. Now you have to click on the send button. You can see the response is okay, that means it's the correct one. And over here it is just saying the category and some of the tags, like okay, you can see the name, that is a building, and there is a confidence score available. Then it is showing a name as a Taj Mahal, and it is showing all the tags available over there. In the tags you can see this is showing that in the image it is having some kind of sky, it is the outdoor dome, landmark, grass, and the historic site, cloud, everything is mentioned over here with all these confidence scores. This way you can just get the details about this landmark. So let's try one thing with the celebrity and let's see how it works. So we all know this famous celebrity, and let's see what is the result our computer vision API give us. So again we have to pass a URL over here. Okay, again it's saying that the response status is 200, that's okay. And now you can see it is a category, it is over mentioning over here the name of the person is the Bill Gates, and then it is identify all the tags. Okay, there is a person, it's a human face, clothing, smile, chin, forehead, everything is available over here. So the next thing, this is about this out of the box, you can see, and what the further if you want to implement it, for example, let's say in a SharePoint. It's not only in the SharePoint, you can do the implementation of the same in another technologies also. But just to give you a demo, I have just created one list over here, and I will give you some of the idea how it works. So this is the computer vision demo, and what you can do as per your customer requirements. If customer wants to upload any of the images, for example, if you have something related to screw, nut, bolt, or anything, so you can just upload over here, and then you can just get the cognitive tags associated with that image. And for that purpose, what we have done is I can just upload one image over here, and once we upload that image, then in the background it is running one flow. Yeah, so over here we are using a Power Automate flow. So whenever file is created in a folder, and over here you have to provide a site address and the folder ID, and then you have to use this analyze image, so computer vision. So over here in the action, you can check for this computer vision API and the analyze image. Once you add it, then it will ask you for the authentication. You can do that. And later on, once you add it, then it is just asking you for the image content and this source and the content. And once you have, then you can just provide input at the tags. So let's upload one image over here. So this one is the London Eye. So over here, I will add this London Eye, and now it will run the flow. Let's give it few minutes. So what is exactly doing, once we add that image, then it will trigger this flow. Then we have, as we have provided already this computer vision API in our Microsoft flow, so it will just pick that image, it will just analyze all the tags available in that image. So you can see the flow is already completed, so we can just go over here, and now you can see this London Eye image we have provided. Then the file content, it is picked. Then using this our computer vision API, it does this analysis of the image, and then the tags. Now you can see it just mentioned all the tags name available over here associated with that image. Now over here you can see all the confidence scores also. So what is exactly the confidence score? It is saying that it is a sky, outdoor, wheel, and everything, and with the confidence scores also. So what you can do whenever you have that kind of result available with you, then you can just modify your flow, and then you can just put that all the tags back over here. And this way, if you want to get some of the tags from the images, then in that case this computer vision API is really very useful. And then, for example, let's say if you want to use it in your C sharp kind of an application, so in that case you can use make a use of vision service client, provide that with the subscription key that we have created. Then we can specify the feature as maybe a description, and once it is there, then we can make a call to analyze the images asynchronously, so that by providing the URL as well as the feature which we want to extract from that particular image, and that's the result is written, it will have a number of caption associated with it, and then we can get that particular caption. Again, if you want to selectively use the tags, in that case you can have for each kind of an thing wherein you will go to the descriptions and go to the tags, and then if you want to look out for a specific tag, in that case you can use you can have that kind of an logic built inside this for each. So this is how you can use this particular vision API in your C sharp application. And if you are not maybe a Power Automate or Microsoft Flow type of person, if you want to do it programmatically inside ASP.NET or any kind of application, so this is how it can be used. So the next thing is, for example, if you are not using a C sharp and you are using a JavaScript based development using a Node.js, in that case, again, this is how you will be able to make a request and get all of the caption and the tags from that particular image. So that was about this cognitive service vision API. And over here some of the references are available. So with these references you can see for this Azure cognitive services and the documentation available. Also this container support is available on this link. I will just later on after this session we'll check how I can see these references links with you. Yeah. So the next thing is a bit complex, is a computer vision service. So as we saw, like this Azure Cognitive Service Vision API includes the services for detecting the common object. So for example, if you upload an image of a car to the computer vision service, it will correctly identify it as a car. However, there might be some circumstances where you need to identify the object or the scenarios that the computer vision services does not recognize. So this is where the custom vision services will come into the picture. While the computer vision services already trained by Microsoft to recognize common objects, so it is up to you to train the custom vision service. So for the specific things you want it to recognize. So for example, if you are working in kind of an industry where you have objects like a ball bearing, screws, nuts, and all those things, so you can upload the images of that to the custom vision service. You can train that custom vision service to identify each of those objects, and wherein there will be a bigger picture coming into it. It will help us to identify what kind of an object that particular picture contains. So again, one example over here, it's let's say we want to train this particular custom vision API for the cats and the dogs. So we have seen many number of pictures of cats and dogs with the various backgrounds uploaded to this custom vision API. And once we upload it, we will train that particular model that okay, if this is the particular picture, then this is the cat. If the picture is something like this, then it is a dog. So that custom vision API will get it trained to identify your objects, and it will build its own model, so that whenever the next time the picture will come through the custom vision API, it will be helped to identify like what kind of an object it is. So let's say like what is mean by a custom vision API. So it is already trained by Microsoft to identify common objects and scenarios, and top of it we can also train this custom vision API for a specific things that we want to recognize ourselves. So we will go through one day more like how we can still make a use of it, but again the simple rule over here is that we will upload the images to this custom vision service. We will train this custom vision service to analyze that particular image, and then it will apply a label on that particular image, and then after we can evaluate the image which we want to try it out. Okay, so over here what we need to do exactly, we have to first is to do the build a classifier. And while building a classifier, after this demo I will show you theory also. So the first thing is you have to create a project, then you have to select a domain, you have to add the images, assign a tag to that images, train the classifier, and then you have to evaluate the classifier. So what is this classifier and is a project? The classifier is a model you build using custom vision service by using a few training images, and each classifier you build in its own project also. So the classifier is nothing but a project, and there are some of the domains available. So while creating that project you will see there are different kinds of domain available. So when you create a project you select the domain for that project, and that domain optimize a classifier for a specific type of object in your images. So for example I have just picked some of the domains from here to make you familiar with it. For example, food, landmark, retail, and adult. So when it's come to the food, it optimize for this is used the optimize for the dishes you would like to see on a restaurant menu. Then the landmark to optimize for recognizable landmarks, both natural and artificial. And when it's come to the retail, it optimize for classifying images in a shopping catalog or a shopping website. Comes to the adults, it optimize to better define between the adult content and non-adult content also. So once you have your project ready, then the next thing is you have to do the train the images. So to create a high precision classifier custom vision service need several training images. So try to upload as much as image possible, and also I will suggest that try to upload real time scenarios over here. A training image is a photograph of the image you want custom vision service to classify. So for example, let's consider one example. If you are creating one project for the animals or the birds, and over here you are just uploading a pictures of a sparrow. So in that case don't go only for the Google and upload whatever the available pictures for the sparrow. So you can just have some of the natural pictures of the sparrow, that okay this is the sparrow sitting on the table. For example, sparrow is there which is sitting on any of the tree. So as much as real scenario possible you can just upload the images for it. And every time whenever you train your projects it creates a iteration, and in your code every time we are using a latest iteration. So whenever you are training any projects it's always creating iterations. So over here in the image you can see the iteration tree. So it is mentioned every time you train or retrain your classifier you create a new iteration of your model. And some of the important things you have to remember over here, that is a precision and a recall. So when you classify an image, how likely is your classifier to correctly classify that image? That's about the precision. And when it's come to the recall, so out of all the images that should have been classified correctly, how many did your classified identify that correctly? So this is about this precision and the recall. So over here you can see there is a cat and there is a dog. So over here you can see the three images of this cat we have provided, and then we have provided the three images of the dog, and then we have provided created one project, then we have provided to our classifier, we have trained it, and then it is a outcome it is showing as a dog. So nothing to worry, this is just an example that you have to always very accurate while you are providing the image, otherwise it will not give you a correct precision whatever the images you are providing, because in this case both are having a tail, and then it is a precision come as a dog. So no worries about it. So this is just an example how it can fail also. So in that case scenario, you have to make sure that you are uploading as much as possible images from all the backgrounds and the real time scenarios over here. Now you can see the precision 50%, 3 out of 6 images predicted correctly, and when it's come to the recall 67%, so 2 out of 3 dogs predicted correctly. Okay, so this is about it, and once it is ready, then you have to test a model. So while testing a model, so after you train your model, you can quickly test it using a locally stored images or an online images. So if you both the way, you can just test your model, and the test uses the most recently trained iteration. So if you have a 3 iterations created, then the latest one, that is the iteration 3, it will use to test that model. Okay, and these are some of the tips like how you can just improving a classifier. So the best way to have a quality classifier is to add more varied tags images from the different objects, from the different backgrounds angle. As I've given you an example of the sparrow, if you have a sparrow, how you can upload the images of the sparrow, and always to train your classifier up to have added the more images. So don't forget to do that, and also include the images that are respective of what your classified will encounter in a real world. So always try to become real, try to upload the images which are related to the real world scenarios. So the photos in a context are better than the photos of objects front of natural backgrounds. So this is one just for example. Now let's go to the example how we can just create this custom vision service. So now I think you are already familiar there. In the starting we have seen that computer vision API. In the computer vision API, it is a Microsoft trend, and where again you have to go with in your some of your custom things which you cannot done from the computer vision API. In that scenario, you can just go with this custom vision service. So let's go to this custom vision service. So let me close this one. So again, for that purpose, you have to go to your portal.azure.com, and then once you are over here, you can just click on the create AI and machine learning. And from here, if you are not able to see it, then you can just go over here. You can just click on the custom vision, and then from here you can make that custom vision ready. So you have to follow the same process, same steps as I mentioned for the computer vision. Everything is same. You have to provide a resource, everything, the region, then the pricing tier, all the you have to fill it, and once it is ready, then it will show you something like this. I've already created that. So this is my custom vision, and once it is ready, it will show you like this one. So over here again the same thing, that is the location in which region you have created. From here you can just manage the keys, and these are the endpoints available. So once you have it ready, then you have something called the custom vision portal. So you can use the custom vision portal to quickly try the API without writing the code also. So let's see how we can just create that project, how we can just train our images. So for that purpose, I will click over here. Sorry, before the starting of the session, I already clicked here. That's why it did not ask me about this sign in dialog. But for example, whenever you are creating for the first time, and once you clicked on that custom vision over here, custom vision portal, then it will ask you for one pop-up for the sign in. And once you clicked on that sign in, then it will take you over here, and from here you can just create a new project. To save the time, I have already created some of the images over here, one project, and it's having apple versus oranges. So like in our theory part, I showed you something like dogs and cats. So this way I just created one thing over here for the apple versus oranges, and over here you can see all the details. So from here you can see the tagged and the untagged image. So whenever you are adding any of the image, from here you can just click add, and then from here you can just select any of the image, you can just open, and then upload a file. done. So once you add it, then over here it will show you tagged and untagged. So once you clicked over here, it will show you the files which are untagged, and then you can just click on it and you can just tag it. So for example, over here, this way, or example, let's say it's having a multiple object. So you can just click on it and then you can just tag over here. Let me, for example, remove it. Then you can just start typing over here, and whenever if you want to, there are already predefined tags are there, apple and orange. So while creating uploading that image, I just selected this area and I just uploaded added it as a orange. And for example, let's say for example I'm just mentioning the text over here, one more category. Then if you click on this plus icon, then it will get added to your existing tags. Okay, so this way you can just upload an image and you can just tag that images, and once it is ready, then you can just train it. So once you clicked over here train, then there are the two options. One is the quick training and another one is the advanced training. And you can see the estimation hour is a 1 hour. So to train to save our time, I have already trained that images before of the session. So over here in the help, you can see they already provided all the details. So use the advanced training for improved performance, especially on challenging and fine grained data set. And with the advanced training, you can specify a compute time budget for the training, and the custom vision will excellently identify the best training and the implementation. So everything is over here. And for the quick iteration, you can use the quick trading. So for any demo, or for example if you want to do the quick training, so in that purpose you can just do this quick training. And once you do that, then it will create all the iterations over here. And from here you can just see the performance, and you can see this is the latest one iteration. So whenever you keep adding the images, you have to always the train, and once you train it, then it will create one more iteration over here. Okay, so let's do a one quick test, as we have already uploaded the images. And I will just add one image from, let's say, from our local. So let's see this example of this image. Let it upload, and over here again it has given the instruction that the file format accepted are in this format only, and the file size should not be extended. So either in the theory, as I mentioned, either you can just browse it from the local files, or either you can just upload any of the online image available from here. Enter url and click on this quick test image, then it will take you over here only. Let me just reduce the size. Now you can see over here that okay, it is saying that the probability, the prediction is shown in a red, it is the apple. So 98.8% it is sure it's the apple. So this way you can just do the quick training, and once it is ready, let me show you how we have done it in a SharePoint kind of thing. Not only in the SharePoint, you can do it in other technologies also, but just to give you a quick demo, I have done over here. So over here I have created one library, and in this library I'm just going to upload the images. And once we upload the image, then in the background we have one flow. So the flow will use this custom vision api, and it will help us to analyze okay what exactly the image is there and what are the tags available in that image. Then over here you can add, for example, one more column, and whenever the flows runs, then whatever the tags you are getting in that flow, you can just upload in that column. So as per the business requirement, for example, if you are working in any of the industry, they have a screw nut bolt, so it will be really very useful over here. So let's go ahead and just upload one image over here, and let me check. Okay, so we have seen in this quick train, in the quick training, we have seen already the demo of the apple. So let me go ahead and upload this image of orange. So now you can see it is uploaded the image, and let me go back and open the flow we have created. So this is the flow we have created, and let's see if it's running. Yeah, soon it will complete. but let me give you idea how it works. So over here, this is the Power Automate. Then we are just taking for the site address. So whenever a file is created in a folder, then the folder ID from here you can just take this one, not this one, this apple versus oranges, and then you have to detect an image in a over there. So for that purpose, you can just say this custom vision API, this one. And once you add that custom vision API, then you can just add these steps, detect object in an image. Then you have to provide this project ID. So from where we will get this project ID, this one. Okay, so this is the project ID. So from the Azure portal using a custom vision API, custom vision portal, we went through over here. And this is in the link, you will get this project ID. So you can take the project ID and the publish name. So the publish name always should be a recent iteration. So in our case, the recent iteration is the iteration 2. If you give any of the other, then it will not work. Over here also you can see this is the iteration 2, that is the published one. So whichever the published one, you have to provide that one. And then we are just providing this file content. So the file we are going to upload in a SharePoint, that content we are providing over here. So now let's see, it must be run. Okay, and it is showing this as a successful. So let me edit it. Over here, you can see this is the SharePoint address and this is the document library from where it just picked that recently added file, and we have added it for the orange. We have added a orange picture. Let's see what is the output we are getting. Yeah. So over here, we have that orange, and then there is all the details also. So again, there are some of the references available over here. So for the Azure custom vision, and some of the documentation also available. So now we are coming to the last part of our session. So for the text analysis, so what is mean by this text analysis? So we generally will deal with some kind of an text, like for example, let's say this session was good, session was not good. So we have some kind of sentiment associated with our wordings. So this text analysis will help us to identify the positive or negative kind of an sentiments from that particular statement which we are passing on. So, the sentiment analysis is the process of detecting whether a piece of writing is a positive, negative, or a neutral. So, whenever we ask for any kind of feedback, maybe even after the session, when I will ask you for your feedback, you will have maybe a positive, negative, or neutral kind of feedback. So, in a circumstances, I don't have maybe a chance to go through each of your feedback, but I what I will do is I will upload this feedback back to my sentiment analysis API, and then it will directly give me like what is the sentiment that you people had after this session. So this is the machine learning driven text mining, and it returns the numeric score between the 0 to 1. So 0, that means the negative, and 1s, that means the positive. So let's have a look of the demo of this text analysis. So for that purpose, again, I will go back to my Azure portal. Let me close it. And from here, again, you can just create it. And once you create it, so I have already created over here to save our time. So again, you can just create it from here, and once it is ready, then what you have to do, you have to provide the same steps. Like for example, whenever we did it for this computer vision API, custom vision API, so the same way you can do it from here. From here, you can just search it, and then from once it is there, then you can just select the resource group. You can just provide a keys to it, then you can just pro, select what is the, do you want to use the free or the pricing tier details, and the each year region or any other region, and once it is ready, then you can just use it. So to save that time, I will directly quickly show you the demo. So for example, over here, this is, I have created one list, and the list over here you can see the title, that means let's say the feedback we are collecting, then the sentiment, as I mentioned, there might be the positive, negative, or the neutral. And how we can just doing this confidence score. So this is the confidence score, you can see this is for, let me check if it's giving you us the details. Yeah, so this is the confidence scores for the positive, then this is the negative scores, and then the neutral. So every time we are getting 100% score, so how it is getting divided in different categories like a positive, neutral, and negative. So for that purpose also, in a background we have one flow, and then let me go back. So this is the text analysis flow is created over here, and let me edit it. And over here you can see we are using that sentiment. So whenever is item is added, so we are just taking that site address and the list name, and then we are just taking the id and the title, and then we are just initializing variables for this confidence scores, because we are going to use that variables, and we are going to store that data back over here. So you can see we are initializing variables for this score. So three variables are initialized over here. Then what is the sentiment over here, that's also we are taking in one variable, and then we are going to add it over here, and then we are setting that all the variables. And once we have all this data, then we are just updating the item, and we are just sending it back. So let me add one statement over here and just mention, okay, session was good. I'm just considering that, hope you will like this session. So session was good, and I'm not adding any of the other data over here in any of the column. I'm just clicking on the save button, and now it will run that flow. So once we get that particular response back, we are adding that particular sentiments code back to our SharePoint item, so that we can identify whether it is a positive, negative, or neutral feedback. So let me check if the flow is still running or it's done its work. It's still running. Let's wait for a couple of seconds more. Yes, now it is running. It's showing as success. Let's refresh over here and see what the exactly data it is giving us. So over here it has given, it cannot see any negativity over here, not a neutral. It is showing that the 100% it is a positive, and the 0 and the 1, as I showed you in the starting, what is the score for it. And let's see over here, it's ran successfully. So this is how we can analyze the text being given by your, maybe from a customer, maybe any of the product reviews. So from those we can easily identify like whether it is a kind of positive feedback, negative feedback, or a neutral feedback. So this is how this machine learning algorithm will help you to carry out this text analysis. So again we have, okay, so again a few references here, which I will encourage you to go through it if you want to use it in your application. Yeah, so over here again, I'm done with my session. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, then please post it in a comment box, and I will take care of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was really an amazing session, like
Yeah,
going
thank
through
you.
what actually image recognition is, how you can use it.
Mhm.
So it was really an amazing session. So thanks a lot for
Yeah, thank
making
you.
time and explaining it very well.
Yes. Do we have any questions in a comment box, or you can continue
Uh,
with the next speakers, and I will check over here in the comments.
yeah.
Okay,
So
thank
right
you.
now we don't have any questions.
Okay, okay. So I'm here. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Have a nice weekend. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. So I think we can take a small break right now for around 5 to 10 minutes, and then we can continue with the another two sessions. So, hello everyone. I hope you have some snacks and you are refreshed now. So, let's move to our next speaker, that is Rahul Ambore sir. So, I would like to invite Rahul sir to the screen.
Hi, Ronak.
Hi Rahul sir.
Hey.
I will just quickly introduce Rahul sir. Rahul Ambore sir is an assistant vice president at State Street on Cloud DevOps. Previously, he has worked with many other organizations like MSCI Inc., UBS, Getronics. Also, he is a Microsoft certified trainer, that is MCT. And today, he will be briefing us about a look into Azure DevOps. So, over to you, Rahul sir.
Thank you, guys. Let me quickly share my screen and then we'll get started. All right. One moment. All right. While I'm sharing a screen, where is that? Okay. I hope you're able to see my screen. All right. So my name is Rahul Ambore. I'm into the IT for one. It's not coming up properly. Okay, so I am in IT for last decade or so, more than decade. I'm helping organizations to build their applications on cloud. Um, uh, m- m- Most of the time, I'm focusing on Azure, so that's the focus area for me for last 7 and 8 years. I am a Microsoft certified trainer for last three years. I'm also a solution architect on Azure again for last 4 10 years, last 4 instances, and I also hold multiple Azure certifications in security, data, and networking and other domains. So that's very brief about me. Whenever I get opportunity and time, I talk to a community like this, and many more on Azure DevOps, Cloud, FinOps, and all sort of things. Yeah, so that's very quick about me. So whatever I'm gonna cover today, if you have any question around it or you wanted to connect and wanted to talk, you are welcome to talk on LinkedIn or Twitter. These are my Twitter and LinkedIn handles that you are seeing on a screen now. So what we're gonna cover today is very briefly about DevOps, how DevOps has emerged, what value DevOps brings in our life, the day-to-day life, and how, if you wanted to get started on DevOps, what are the skills that you need, uh, how certifications can help you, and which are those certifications, and how the job market looks like. So that's what I wanted to talk to you guys. So without further delay, and I just wanted to ensure that your next 30 40 minutes, I wanted to add values so that whatever I'm going to talk today, you'll be able to get something out of it and add to your 30 minutes. Yeah, so that's very quick about sessions. So sessions is DevOps. What is DevOps? How DevOps can help? Is DevOps and SRE the same? If not, how, why are we thinking the same thing when we go for any discussions on DevOps and Azure practices, or DevOps practices, or SRE practices? um, if DevOps is a new paradigm, how Azure has to offer from the DevOps angle, what are the tools that Azure has, what is the ecosystem that Azure has built around it, and how it can help us. And then last two key part is career opportunities and cloud certifications and all sort of things that we're gonna cover today. All right. Going into these sessions now, what is DevOps? Why DevOps, right? So if you go a couple of decades back and see DevOps, right, it is really not a new terminology or new thing. If you see, just like US engineering was there for 10 15 years, DevOps was also there for more than a decade. It just was not evolved the way that currently we see. if we currently go in a market, I was looking in one of the survey. So nowadays there are 25 to 27% of opportunities only around DevOps. So you see the how big the DevOps ecosystem has been since last 8 to 10 years, and that has evolved just because the cloud has come. Not just Azure, but many other cloud providers has helped to push the DevOps journey. Right, that's how the market is. So why DevOps, right? What is the reason that we need to go DevOps, do DevOps, and how it add values to overall architecture that we build? So if you see 5 7 years back or 10 years back or more than that, usually you see multiple teams working together to build something on their on the business, right? For the business, you would see application team building application. There is a team who is hosting your application, who is managing your application. There is a third team who is doing the logistic parts from the change management, compliance, on all sort of things. So these three teams working in silos. Application team do not know where their application is really at low level working. What is the platform, what is the at low level, what is the infrastructure or or the OS is really hosting their application at very low level. And the same thing goes for application to the operations teams, is not really aware about what is happening in the new change, what is the new releases is all about, what is the breaking changes and all sort of things, right? So this was a kind of a mess. So to solve this, we see a new paradigm called DevOps, where DevOps is a combination of Dev and Ops. The person who is DevOps is kind of Ops, and Dev also, who is helping Dev to build the reliable applications, and operations to build the reliability. So that's the DevOps. Yeah. um, if we see where the DevOps falls mostly, I think it is more a Dev than Ops, and then SRE is more Ops than a Dev. If you see Dev Ops would help to build your applications on cloud more at speed, and it will improve the reliability of your application. How it will help the reliability of your application, that we're gonna talk in a session a little later. SRE is site reliability engineering, as name suggests. It is falls mostly on the operation side of it. Um, um, if you see, it will help to, the SRE guys will help you to improve the high availability, reliability, and performance of your application. So that's the very high level key difference between what is DevOps and SRE. If you go by the book definition of DevOps, it is union of people. If you see, these definitions very clearly defines the paradigm of DevOps: the union of people, process, products to enable continuous delivery of value to our customers. Yeah. So that's the definition of DevOps, why DevOps and how DevOps. Yeah. So let's move to DevOps lifecycle, or how DevOps really works. Yeah. In the session, we also have a couple of walkthroughs on Azure portals and Azure DevOps tool chains, a pipeline, how we can build the pipeline, how the stages and all those things looks. So stay tuned for those too. Um, let's quickly cover about the DevOps lifecycle. So if you see any application deployment or SDLC process, you would see the plan. Usually you would have whiteboard sessions where you will plan how this one system will one service will talk to other systems, and how the database will integrate, which database we should be using, and all sort of things will go in a plan. Usually it is a architecture discussion or whiteboard discussion that we would have. And then the team at the ground will start coding it. Once we have coded that, we will build that using some kind of tool. It could be image, containers, and all sort of things, or depends on the platform that you are leveraging for your application. And once we have the build, you will test it with predefined test, which is a QA. and then you will release it. Once you release to your release branch, it will take from there the the pipeline will take your code image, or deployable, and deploy it on a platform. Once we have it on a platform, we will have a loop. If you see, plan, code, build, test, release, deploy, operate. Even in operate, your application is live, and then all the feedback, all these alerts, all this monitoring will continuously monitor your application, how it is behaving. The new release that you have pushed, is there any CPU spike that you see with the new changes, or is this performing as expected? All those feedback will go in a monitor, and then again it will go in a plan discussion that the new release has added these values, whereas we need to improve on these two things. Again, the same life cycle will again go continuously go on. So that's how it will help you to improve the reliability of your application. So you'll continuously build your application, you'll continuously test your application, you'll continuously get the feedback of your application, how it is working, and with that feedback you will continuously improve. So that's how that's how you'll be able to improve the reliability. And the way that you are currently building this application at speed will also help you to be a competitive advantages against your competitors. You'll be continuously deploying, you'll adding new values to your customers every day, every minute, depending on your process. Moving to the next, so what and how DevOps can add values. So as I quickly talked about or touched upon, the DevOps would help you to build the reliability of application, and then you'll be able to push the code at a speed. If you see, any well architecture framework of any cloud provider or any organization would have few pillars. Yeah, the reliability, uh, performance, cost optimization, chaos engineering, or say availability, reliability. These are the few key pillars of any well architecture frameworks. The same thing goes with the Azure. So to build these key pillars, you would need to leverage the DevOps practices. So that's how it is important. DevOps is in our day-to-day life to build application at speed, reliable, and add performance to your application via DevOps practices. So now we understood how what is DevOps, how DevOps can helps, what key pillars are of Azure architecture framework, where it helps to build those pillars and add values in those things. um, so moving to the next one. So see, this is again same thing, right? CI/CD, observability, improvement, and better experience. If you go this life, this tool chain, or the flow, you would see at the end user would have a very better, very good experience, and then you're continuously. So as soon as you have a code in your branch, right? Someone push the code, the continuous integration pipeline will trigger, it will build the application, it will run the all the test against your application, your image or latest code, and then once you have validation passed, it will push to some repository, and from there you'll be pushing this application to platform. Take an example of AKS or ACR or ACI or any of those containerized platform. And once you have application running in live, you'll be leveraging Azure Monitor or many other tool chains, applications, and all sort of things to measure the observability of your application. And then once we have data points, or you can also do a chaos engineering on those platforms, and get much more feedback how your application is performing in a production. And then once you have those data points, go back to the drawing room, and then add those features, do the same thing, and that's how you'll have a better experience. So let's go back to the Azure portal and see in action how does that really helps. Yeah. So If you see my screen now, this is the Azure ecosystems or Azure DevOps ecosystem. If you see, you have projects. In generally, these all projects, you will have multiple departments in your organizations. You'll get one projects for you. That way, you can segregate or you can manage the access management. You can manage the who have access to your code repository and we can run the pipelines and all sort of things. So that's the reason there is a project. So I have a project called PowerShell, and then under the PowerShell there is a few key points that you see, the icons you see, the boards. Usually any storage that you create, any feature that you found that after the feedback that xyz is not behaving the way that you wanted to, and you will add a work item here on the backlog or sprint and all, also agile way of doing things, and then you can track it. So that the boards will help you to channel your DevOps practice. And then the key thing is repositories. This is really interesting tool, the part of the DevOps where you don't really need to leverage any third party or another tool to host your code. It is all integrated in a single pane of glass. You would have your code into the repositories. You can create multiple repositories, and then you would have all those practices of GitOps, branches, and then this again you can, if you wanted to go take this into your choice of IDE, you can pull and then you can push the same thing that you do in a Git. All right, so moving ahead, you have boards to track the changes. Then there is a repositories to host your code, and then there is again a very important tool or icon is called pipelines, where it will help you to take your code from the repository and push it to your platform. Maybe taken very rudimentary examples here is you have Java image that you have pushed to the repository, and from there the pipeline will build using the Maven, and then as soon as it is successfully built, it will connect to ACR. ACR is Azure Container Registry. It will push the image to your ACR, and then there is a second pipeline called continuous deployment. It will pull the image from the pipeline and then push on the AKS or ACI or choice of your platform. So that would help, this pipeline will help you do those. And then if you wanted to manage it a little bit of more programmatically, you have all those options for your rescue. You can use libraries, releases, and environments. The key development that has happened in the Azure DevOps is if you wanted to nowadays, we do not do classic pipelines. Usually it is moved to the YAML based pipelines now. Yeah, pipelines as a code. Why YAML based pipeline is, if I have built some pipeline here, if you see the Azure DevOps pipeline, and the same team, same pipeline, same logic, same flow. If some other team in the same department wanted to use, or any other department wanted to use, you can just export this pipeline. Someone can import in their projects, change some variables, and then the pipeline is good to go. They don't need to rewrite a pipeline from the scratch. So that's the benefit of pipeline. There are many more, but these are the key things. And then if you have a test plans, again this is you can leverage. Once if you wanted to publish your artifacts, you can publish your artifacts to this artifacts library artifacts, that you can use it for little purposes. So I have one pipeline that I wanted to show how the continuous integration and continuous deployment works, and how that helps to build your application at speed, to improve the reliability, and then add values comparatively to your competitors. So if you see, this is my portal. I'm gonna create a couple of resource groups, right? So if you count this resource group, there are almost 7 resource group that I have already. Okay, so this pipeline that I have is what it does. It creates the, if I just, it is very small pipeline. What it does is, um, okay, there is two stages that I have created. One stage, it creates the uh, resource groups, okay, and then in the second stage, it deletes all those resource group that we have created. Take an example: you are doing some development work or sandbox works, you wanted to create a couple of AKS clusters or some couple of services, you want to test it, and then at the end you want to destroy all those things with the one click. So you can add timers here, all those things you can do, but for now what I'm doing, I'm going to create a one click resource, couple of resources here. You have seen there are by default 7 resource groups in my Azure subscriptions. I'm going to run this quickly pipeline, okay. um, and now you would see as soon as this pipeline is started, as soon as this pipeline has ran, you would see a new set of resource group will get created. That way, you see in real world, you would have AKS created in first stage of your pipeline, and in the second stage of pipeline, you would pull the images from the ACR and then deploy resources, deploy the images to the AKS, and then there could be a third stage where you would deploy multiple alerts, and at the end, you would do some test on those deployed application, and see how it is behaving. And if you think that it is behaving as per what you have planned, then you are good. Or else what you can tear down at a last stage and see if that has done anything. So now, so I have added this 20-minute 20 seconds delay. I hopefully this pipeline has created the resource group. Let go and explore the refresh the page. So now if you see, these are the two new resource group has created. Earlier it was 7, now we have more than 7. It's 9 resource group has been created. So that's how I have done nothing. This one time we have coded it. It is very small example, but you can you get the point, right? How we can do these things. So now this stage has completed, it provisioned the resources, and then now it will go to the next stage after sort of times, and it will delete those resource groups automatically, so I don't need to worry about it. So that's how continuous integration and continuous deployment would work. Now it is asking me to approve. So it is again a one gate that you can put if you wanted to. So if you are destroying something, maybe in a little bit of higher environment, you definitely wanted to have these gates just to avoid any accidental deletions, right? So you get these options. You also get a couple of other options to approve these triggers, like via emails or some webhooks or some other tools. It depends. If you someone wanted to get those notifications on or create the service notificates and all sort of things, it will also help you to do all those things. So that's how this flow would work. So now it has been 20 seconds that you see. In next couple of seconds you would see the stage would delete the created Azure resource groups. If I go back and refresh my subscriptions, Azure, it would do that as soon as it's completed. Okay, so it will do it. So going back to, let's see, it will delete those resource groups. Let's move back to our PowerPoint. So now I think what we got is what is DevOps, how DevOps would help, what value it adds to any application developments, what is the history of Azure DevOps or any DevOps in that manners, and then how Azure DevOps or DevOps in a way is different than SRE. Yeah. So see the skills that we would need usually, which is, don't take this as a at very what I mean, there is very many variables to this. Okay, it may vary depending on these industry to industry. Some industry would have this requirement, some would have a different thing. So if you see as a fundamentals level, at a very low level, you need to understand how the git works, how the pipelines, how the git what is why we use git in short, right? What is gitlab, git or gitlab, github, ci/cd tools, are these are all same? What, how does this add value to your software development? So all those things that we are talking about is all to build a better applications, better software, add better values to our customers, add better user experience to our users and customers. So that's the key thing. So at the fundamentals, at a very basic level, you need to understand Git, GitLab, GitHub, CI/CD, equivalent tools. Okay, these are the few to name. There are few more vendors who offers these solutions. So you need to understand all those things. And then if you, from the infrastructure perspective, if you see what I am seeing from my learning is KTS or Kubernetes, AKS, ECS, or GKE, or many other Kubernetes platforms are the key nowadays from the infrastructure perspective for the DevOps. There are many more, but these are the key thing. As soon as we have a platform, then there is a whole ecosystem comes around it. AKS needs help, ARM template, Terraform, to build, deploy application at a speed without many challenges. And then monitoring again, logging, application management, logging tools, uh, the feedback that we discussed earlier. As soon as we have application on a production, how do we capture the data points, how do we evaluate the applications reliability, availability, right? Get those data points and give feedback to the initial, the first stage, plan stage, architecture stage, whiteboard stage, whatever you call it. And I can start from the basic. So that's how these are the couple of things that I think is really a key thing for whoever wanted to get started on this journey. um, at this stage, again, just to recap, we covered what is DevOps, how DevOps, what is the difference, and then the skill that we need. Now we know DevOps is what we know. DevOps we know. Skills also we got to know a little bit, and then once we have all those things in our with us, what are the career opportunities for us, right? So let's talk about those things. So these are the couple of roles that I see very frequently getting posted on LinkedIn: DevOps engineer, cloud DevSecOps engineer, DevOps architect, SRE, so all sort of things, right? So these are the these are the levels, I would say. You start with the DevOps engineer, where most of the time you would build and deploy applications along with some Linux expertise. You know some Linux platform, you know some CI/CD tools, you know some ISC tools, and that's how you would most of the time start. This would differ organization to organization, but high level, this is how it is. And then at the next stage, you would see cloud DevSecOps. Nowadays it is not cloud DevSecOps, it is also FinOps added to these things. It is getting wider and wider nowadays. You need to this is all we are talking about from the cloud perspective. So you need to understand how the cloud really works, so that you can build, automate around it. You also need to understand the code a bit, and the code is secure. Is there any credentials? Can we integrate any security tools to scan our code? Whether this specific port is allowed, secure. How do we is there a layer security that we are using in our organizations? What are the ways we can improve the security, and then operations part of it, right? How do we improve the reliability, availability, and with all those things, how we can save a cost on Azure resources? If we are using the IIS version of Azure, can we move to the PaaS version of Azure, or Kubernetes, or cloud native, or Azure serverless, all sort of things? Can we do that? So that's mindset also very critical. and then at the later stage of it, architecting the solution with the help of DevOps practices. Which tools we should be using? We should go with the GitLab, Azure DevOps, Jenkins, all sort of things. Why over why, this over that, right? And then what is the best strategy of ISC tools? How do we manage the state? Whether the whether Terraform is best suited for us, or let's go with ARM or Bicep or many other. Why? So all those things, designing a DevOps practices is the next stage of things. So see let's see what are the certification that we can opt for when we talk about Azure services. All right. So now we know the skills, we know the ecosystem of DevOps. So these are the couple of certifications that Azure has provided. So so whatever I'm talking today is already available for you to explore on Azure. So I shown you the Azure DevOps platform, pipelines, repositories, all those. You can quickly go ahead and subscribe. You can go ahead and subscribe to that. You'll be able to you'll get all those things with limited runners. I think for learning purpose, all those good. You also get a 30 days free trial with some limited credits to play around on the Azure. So with that, you get you can start with the Azure fundamentals. Yeah, I think I would recommend everyone who knows cloud, or no matter he is technical, project manager or delivery manager, should understand the fundamentals of cloud. They start with the fundamental certifications, and then either they can go with the admin, or a developer. These are the certification. Then a later stage of the journey, they can work, they can look for the Azure DevOps expert certification. These are which covers so many things. And at the end, you get the Azure DevOps engineer with the expert level badge. 3 star. It is meant for it. It has so many things. You can just go to the Microsoft Azure Learn portal to explore the modules. There are so many modules, practices, labs, exercises available for you to try it out. Yeah, so these are the certification that you can try for the Azure DevOps. All right. So with that, we are into this session. If you have any questions, please ask now. If not, do connect over the LinkedIn, Twitter, or any other platform that you see. I'll be happy to help. Happy DevOps. Over to you.
Yeah. So thanks a lot, sir. It was really great where you shared the insights on DevOps. So it was great that you shared about the main difference between DevOps and SRE. What are the skills that you require to become a DevOps engineer? So what are the certifications that you need and all those stuff. So it was really very helpful for the audience to understand, and I hope they will get started soon in DevOps. So thanks a lot for the amazing session.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. So now let's move ahead with the last session for the day, and I hope you all are excited for this session. So now we have with us our next speakers, Nandip Nachan sir and Kun Sangani sir. So I would like to invite them to the stage.
For the invite. Let me share my screen. If you can just confirm if you can see my screen. I just
Yeah,
started sharing. Okay. Yeah. All right.
cool.
Do
This
you see
is
it now?
visible. Yeah. So I will just quickly introduce Nandip Nachan sir and Kun Sangani sir. So Nandip Nachan sir is a Microsoft MVP in M365 apps and services. Also, he is a Microsoft certified trainer, MCT, consultant at my M365, SharePoint, MS Azure, Power Platform, a lot of achievements. So previously, he has worked with organizations like Barclays, Sagitech Solutions, Accenture. About Kun Sangani sir, he is currently working as associate in Cognizant. He has previously worked with Infosys as well. So he is a C Sharp Corner MVP and Microsoft 365 consultant. So Nandip Nachan sir and Kun Sangani sir will be helping us out to explore how we can build bots with Azure and consume anywhere. So over to you, sir.
Oh, thank you very much for that introduction. No need to call me sir, just call me Nandadeep. Okay, but yeah, thanks for the introduction. And everyone, welcome to this last session. I know that this one is the last session, but we will not bore you. So that's the reason we have interesting stuff here with bots, because no one there is no one who likes bots, right? So whenever we want to have any kind of an interaction, mostly I see a trend towards using bots. So you will get more engaged with the bot rather than having any interaction with human person. Okay, so bots are everywhere, and then again, Azure is not just the only place from where we'll be able to create bots, but we will be focusing around what are those capabilities Azure offers, through which we will be able to create those bots in an easy way. And then once we just publish those bots to Azure, then again the possibilities are limitless, that you will be able to consume it anywhere. So for example, if you have your own website, you will be able to consume it there. If you are using Microsoft Teams or any of the other chat based application, you will be able to use that as well. At the same time, for example, if you want to do it for your WhatsApp, even that is possible, right? So I hope that sound interesting. And then this is the agenda that I will be covering, and then I will hand it over the rest of the session to Kunj. So what we will do is we will just have a quick overview of bot. I know everyone know like what is meant by bot, but we will just go into the types of bot that we have got, and then from there we will start building our first bot, which is a simple echo bot, and then we will extend it further to get that bot integrated with website as well as Microsoft Teams as a chat. Right, and then there will be a few other advanced things which Kunj will cover. So before we start the session, quick introduction. Myself, Nandadeep Nachan. I am Microsoft MVP for M365 apps and services, Microsoft certified trainer, author of couple of books on SharePoint framework as well as SharePoint hybrid with SharePoint 2019. And for example, if you want to have any kind of a conversation with me, feel free to get in touch with me onto the social media handlers which are onto the right side of the screen. And with me today is Kunj. So Kunj, if you can just quickly introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Nandi. So, yeah, myself Kunj, and I am like C Shop Corner MVP. Currently working in the M365 domain. I like to explore Azure as well. So, these are few of my social media handlers. You can connect with me on Twitter, LinkedIn. I am mostly active, so you can just ping me, have a word, and we can discuss something if you have any doubts. So that's it. Over to you, Nandi. Back.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So let's quickly get into the bots, and let's have the overview of bots. So I will not go into the definition of bots, like what is meant by bot, but let us try to explore what are the types of bots that we have. So firstly, that let's say we have informational kind of an bots. So what these bots can do is it can handle a large volume of FAQs, frequently asked questions kind of a thing, and then we will be able to convert that FAQ related content into the conversational experience. And I guess over the past 2 years, most of you have been interacting with this kind of an bots, because whenever you will enter any onto a medical website, probably the bot will welcome you. It will ask you like what is your travel history. You will keep entering all the things. Have you been in contact with someone who had COVID, all those things. So those are the types of bots which are kind of an informational bots. They this kind of an bots are trained by providing them some kind of an FAQs. So those FAQs can come from any of the domains. So not just related to the medical domain, but those FAQs can come from any domain, and then that bot gets trained on themselves. And then once you enter the information, they will keep collecting the information, and then they will give you some kind of an other data, or at least some kind of an conclusion. Okay, so those are kind of an informational bots. So again, those bots considered to be a self-training bots, because there might be few things which during the interaction of bot and human, which is not being covered into the FAQ, but bot can use that content to get trained itself, and then it can get trained, and then again it will be able to use those kind of an gap to train and then improve itself. Okay, so those are kind of an informational bots which will just try to get some information from you, and then it will provide you the result. Same kind of an bots probably I can say whenever you are interacting with pizza orders, so it will just try to get some more information, but those are kind of an informational bots, but those are more inclined towards the transactional bots. So the transactional bots, that means it will just empower end users to self-serve. So that means now that I'm feeling hungry, so I will go onto the pizza website. It will be kind of an based on some kind of an FAQs. So it will try to get some information from you. It will offer what are the services being offered by that pizza service, and then it will just try to get what kind of an history that you have got with the previous orders, and then from there it will start making the transactions. So it will be kind of an prompting to you, like for example, do you want to get extra cheese, do you want to have this kind of an sauce. So it will just try to sell the product, but it will be mostly inclined towards having any kind of a transaction. So those are the types of bots which are kind of an called as transactional bots. And then lastly, we have got dynamic and contextual chatbots. So these are kind of an context aware bots which can do anything on your behalf to make yourself more productive. So nowadays we have been interacting with those kind of an bots with the help of Alexa probably. So we don't want to take efforts to get out of the seat and then probably switch on the fan, switch on the light. We just simply say Alexa, switch on the light, and that bot goes and do the magic and do it for ourselves. Okay, so these are kind of an bots that we mostly use with. Okay, so then again there are various industry level examples as well. So for example, all of the medical services, they use informational chatbots. For example, most of the ordering services, or if you must have heard of UPS, which is a courier kind of an services, they have their transactional chatbots because they don't want to keep their service users busy with attending the calls. They will have their chatbots. The chatbot will ask you the number with which you want to have the tracking order, and then it can help you get that kind of a transaction. And then the dynamic and contextual bots are something like all of the kind of an organizations or services who are creating those kind of an Alexa services. So that means any kind of an automation they want to build, maybe using IoT. So those are the examples on each of this type of this bot. So again, probably we won't be able to deep dive into all of these bots, but the intention of this session will be just to make you aware of how those bots are, and then again how you will be able to get started by creating a simple kind of an bots in Azure, and then again you can keep developing your skills on top of it to create this kind of an bots. So at least we will be covering some part of the informational chatbots, but again it will give you a hint like how you can still go ahead and create transactional as well as the contextual chatbots. All right, so then for example, if you want to get started, what are those Azure services that we need? So firstly, we will need this bot framework SDK, which will help us to create a bot in Microsoft Azure kind of a service. So there are various modules available for bot framework, which we'll be able to use, and then we will be able to quickly develop a bot which can be easily hosted on Microsoft Azure. Then secondly, we will be able to build some kind of an intelligence on top of those bots using cognitive services. So in the previous session, we must have seen that what are those offerings are, and then we will be able to build in the intelligence of these cognitive services inside our bot. And then lastly, whenever we have all of our logic ready, we need to host it somewhere, and then that somewhere place is nothing but the bot service. So again, there have been few historical things happened over the Azure kind of an offering for bots, and then over the time Microsoft has learned how the Microsoft bot should behave, and again they come up with various offerings for bot, and then bot service is kind of a latest offering which we are able to use. And again, just a point here is like from the Microsoft point of view, Microsoft Azure is not just the only service which is providing you the bot kind of functionalities, but for example, if you are exploring Power Platform, there also you will be able to create something called as Power Virtual Agent. We generally call them as PVA or chatbots. So even those are kind of services which will help you to quickly create a chatbot without having any kind of an programming knowledge. So you don't need to be expert in C sharp or .NET or PowerShell or anything. You will be able to build those bots as well. But now that we will just focus on how we will be able to create that bot as a service in Azure, and then the advantage of having this bot as a service, because once it is hosted in Azure, it is in the cloud, and then there are unlimited kind of an possibilities that wherever you will be able to use that. So at least in this demo I will be showing you how to create a simple kind of a chatbot, and then again how to host that onto Azure, and from there we will see how we will be able to consume those kind of an bots in your website as a chatbot, or maybe on your Microsoft Teams, to give your employees some kind of an more easiness to work with, so that they will be able to find the information easily, and they will be able to have collaboration easily with the other services which are running across your organization. All right, so let's get into our first demo and see how we'll be able to create a chat ecobot, which is kind of an chatbot itself. So firstly, that we will need a few things. Probably I will not directly go into the Azure portal, but the things that we will need here are firstly, I already have installed this bot framework SDK. At least we are not going to consume cognitive services. We will keep it simple. And then once we are built our bot, we will go ahead and deploy that to a bot service. So I already have those things installed. And then I do have my bot framework emulator. So this emulator is nothing but it is just a platform to test out your bot before you go ahead and deploy that to Azure environment. So what I will do first is I will just open up the Visual Studio 2019. Uh, I know that this is not the latest version, but I'm still using Visual Studio 2019. And then I can just start by creating a new project. And here, since I have installed the Azure Framework SDK, I get an option to create bots. So there will be various categories available to you to create your projects, but out of that one is called as bots or AI bots. So you can just select that, and then at least here you will be able to see that you are basically able to create two types of bots. So first one is a echo bot, which is a simple that whatever you type, it will echo you back the same thing. And then we do have a core bot, that means it is just a framework for you, and then you will be able to uh, build more kind of an functionalities on top of it. For example, Lewis, which is language understanding kind of a thing, or any of the other richer templates you will be able to apply on top of it. And then again, you can decide which kind of an bot framework you want to use, whether it is V3 or V4, but mostly go ahead with V4 itself. So I will just simply select this Echo bot, click on next. So this is a wizard kind of a thing, and I just have to choose the location where I want to place this solution. So I will go ahead with the default solution, and I will just call this bot as a echo bot. Okay, and we'll just click on create. So this is pretty much simple. That now that our bot is ready in a basic format, so that we'll be able to use that as a chatbot or a echo bot kind of a thing. So simply whatever we type, the bot will give us the same response. But probably that is the thing, like where you will be able to create your own logic kind of a thing. So you can just understand the code, and then probably you will be able to even convert that echo bot into your specific kind of an requirements. So the bot is right now ready, and if I go into the solution explorer, this is the solution structure that it generates. Here we do have everything that we have got in all of the .NET based projects in Visual Studio, like startup.cs, from where we'll be able to pull out the configurations. At the same time, the program.cs, which is the entry point for any of the code that you write. And then again, here we have major things for bots. So entire logic that is being developed is in this file. So whenever the bot will start its functioning, this is the first thing that will get called, like on message activity async. So whenever we will have any kind of a transaction with our bot, this is the first method that will get called. So again, whenever we will have a bot, it won't be able to direct invoke itself. So it is the same thing, like for example, I want to have a conversation with the next person. I will call a name of that person, and I will start a discussion with that person. Means we don't directly go and start talking, right? We go to the person, we call him by name, and then we start the execution. So similarly, we have to give that respect to bot as well. We have to invoke the bot by calling its name by maybe using at the rate mention of name of that bot, and then we will start that execution. So whenever we will start that execution, this is the method that will get called. And then what this simply is doing is it is echoing back the same thing which I am saying. Okay, so pretty much simple example, but at least this example will set a stage for us through which we'll be able to extend this into various other scenarios. So what I will do is I will just press F5 or I will run this onto IIS Express, and then we have this bot framework emulator opened up where we will be able to test out this bot, right? So let us wait for some time to get this invoked, and we should have it up and running in few seconds. All right, so now that this one is compiling and then this one will run. Since it is the first time, it will take some time to get compiled itself and then it can run. So now that this one is saying that your bot is ready, download the emulator. This emulator is already downloaded, running here. So every bot will have its endpoint called as slash API slash messages. So all of the communication that you will have with your bot will be always on this endpoint called as slash API slash messages. So this thing can change. Right now this bot is hosted onto the local host, but again, for example, if you want to host it publicly, obviously you cannot go ahead with local host. In that case, you can go ahead with deployment onto the Azure web app. So even I will show you how to do that. At the same time, for example, if you still want to make any public calls but you don't want to yet host that into the Azure, then there are various other possibilities, like you can intermediately host it on ngrok or ngrok. So ngrok or ngrok, whatever you call it, it is kind of an tunneling, so which will help you to tunnel all of your public IP kind of an request to your local host. So even feel free to use that kind of an platform before you go ahead and start with the actual deployment. So now that our bot is running, what I will do is I just have picked up that endpoint, which is localhost 3978 is the port where it is running. Slash API slash messages is the endpoint where the bot will be able to communicate with us. So I'm right now into the bot framework emulator. I will just click on open bot, and then here I will be able to give the URL. If in case if it is your bot which is hosted onto the Microsoft Azure kind of a platform, in that case you can give the Microsoft app ID and password to get yourself authenticated and get connected to bot to have the transaction. At the same time, for example, if you are using it onto the direct line or other kind of an text test options, in that case you can provide those values and then you will be able to use that. So now that we have specified this bot URL, we'll simply go ahead and connect to that bot. So from here you will be able to see that what are the things which are happening. So you can see the first message, which is hello and welcome, which is being posted by our bot. So now that whenever this bot has been added onto any of the conversation, whenever there will be new member that gets added to the conversation, it will go ahead and welcome the bot. So bots are always nice to work with. Okay, they are always polite. So what I will do is I will just go ahead and I will say hi bot, and bot are polite. It will just give me the same reply back with echo that hi bot. Okay, so I can just keep typing, and then it will keep replying the same thing. But only thing here, now that we have our bot thing running, so how this thing is happening again, every time I'm invoking this is invoking this particular method. If you want to even debug this, you can just put a debug point here, go ahead again back to your emulator and then just type something for the bot, and then you can see that that debug point is getting hit. So through here you will be able to debug through each of the statement that you are writing, and then you will be able to get to the what kind of an values we are getting and what kind of an other possibilities that we have along the side the expected result, right? So we'll be able to do that debugging here as well. So before we go ahead deploy this to any of the environment, probably this is the best place to get yourself debug and then invoke this bot, right? So that was the simplest form of how you will be able to create bot. So what now I will do is I will just go into bit of more real world use cases of this bot. So we will see like how we'll be able to integrate not just EcoBot but some kind of a bot in our website as well as into the Microsoft Teams chat. So just for that purpose, I'm referring to another bot which is available onto the Microsoft Git repository. So that bot is nothing but based on something called as an adaptive cards. So adaptive card are nothing but kind of a JSON format snippets of your UI through which you will be able to present cards to your user so that those are kind of an actionable cards. uh, the end user can have a look at that actionable card, they can read the information, and they will be able to uh, even send back the information to the bot itself. Okay, so these adaptive cards are picking up very much pace in the development, and then again through which you'll be able to present nicer kind of an information to your users. So this is a bot that we have which goes pick up the adaptive card from the resources folder that we have. So again, this one is the structure of the project. We do have startup CS, we do have app setting JSON. For example, if you want to add any of the application settings here from your Azure side which you are hosting. So let's say for example, if I open up that, we just can mention the app ID, app password. Obviously app password should not be a plain text here, but I just have added it here to for this demo purpose. And other thing is like you can define what kind of an app type this is. So it could be a multi-tenant, that means the bot is hosted on one tenant, but it will be able to communicate with the systems onto the other tenant as well. So here we can have maybe app created as a single tenant, multi-tenant, or maybe it is just the user identity kind of a thing. Okay, so those kind of an settings you will be able to place it here, and then we do have all those adaptive cards. So each of the adaptive card by its name goes like this one is showing some kind of an flight itinerary kind of an information. This card is showing a few of the images. This card is showing the weather information. This one is showing the restaurant menu, and this one is just showing some kind of an games. So this adaptive card has got their own structure. Firstly, we'll have to specify the schema for that adaptive card, which is the schema against which it will validate all of the things that you are writing for this adaptive card. The type of that is obviously adaptive card. Adaptive card has got various version. I guess the recent one is 1.4 or 1.5, but here we are just using the basic functionalities of adaptive card, which is 1.0. And then we are just simply setting some kind of an background image for that adaptive card because this one will offer the UI layer to your users. And then in the body we can add the menus on how this one looks like. So again, for example, if you are not very much comfortable using adaptive cards, then you can simply go to this URL called as adaptivecards.io, and then this one has a good documentation onto the adaptive card. At the same time, for example, if you go into the samples, there are few samples available, and then if you click on try it yourself, you will be able to also try out those samples, as well as you will be able to build your samples as well. So let's say for example, this is a card which is offered by this sample. If I want to add any of the text box here, I can just simply go ahead and add that text box. So now that we have this text box here, so this is a schema or this payload that has been generated for this card. So I can simply take this card from here, put that into our code, and it will start working. So this is how those cards are getting generated. Then in that case, what we simply do is again, we have a welcome message because bots are always nicer to work with. They always welcome everyone. So this is the welcome text that we always give to our end users when they invoke the bot. And then we have few of the cards here which will show the information about flight or image or weather or restaurant menu. Then simply whenever the member has been added to your conversation, it will go ahead and send that welcome message. And then that welcome message is nothing but like welcome and welcome to adaptive cards bot, and then just the welcome text that we have got. The major thing here is like, since we have got number of cards here, what we are doing here is simply if the bot has been invoked with flight kind of a command, we just return back the flight itinerary. If it is invoked with the image kind of a command, we simply return the image card. So simply we go ahead and return that type of card which has been invoked against. And by default, if nothing has been specified for that, or nothing from this menu has been invoked against the bot invocation, we will go ahead and just simply put some kind of a random card based out of the array that we have got here, and then that card will be displayed to the user, and that's it. So this is the simple kind of a thing that we have, and this method will just help you to build a card by reading your JSON file, and then that card will be sent to your chat, to all of the users who are invoking those bot. So now that let us come to the deployment part of it. So what kind of things that we will need for deployment? So for that, I just have one resource group created, and then inside of that we have two things here. So first one is a bot itself, and then we do have the app service. So app service will be useful to host this kind of an code. So again, if I explore this, here we have this www root, so which is the invocation point for your bot. So what we can do from here is, we can host this entire code into this website. Okay, so for that, probably you can go into the website. You can, option is like you can maybe download the published profile from here, get published profile. You can go into the bot. You can probably right click and try to publish this. Once you publish this, there are multiple ways how you want to get it published to Microsoft Azure web app. So either you can use the way to maybe directly connect to the Azure, or you can use that published profile which we have downloaded. So you can use any of this option. In my case, I just had selected this profile which I had downloaded from my web, and then I have published that site here. So that means right now my bot is running onto a website called as az nascent bot web app hyphen azure website.net. So my bot is right now running here. The next thing is I need to configure my bot itself. So for that, I have created another resource here called as Azure bot. So you will be able to just click on create, just find the Azure bot, and you will be able to create that. So it is a simple configuration wizard that will just ask you the name of the bot, where to create it and everything, and it will help you just create the bot. Once you create a bot, this is how it will look like. And then there are few things which are important at this bot profile. So first one is this bot profile. This one will just give the look and feel for the end users to locate and use the bot. So if you have your own customized icon to represent this bot, you can go ahead and upload it there. But the major two settings here are the configuration and channels. So if you now go into the configurations, this is the messaging endpoint that you are setting. So if you again remember, the messaging endpoint in this case with emulator was again slash API slash messages. Similar thing that we have here. So we just need to give the endpoint or the website where our bot logic is hosted. So which is the Azure website that we just saw, followed by slash API slash messages, which is the endpoint where we will be able to have communication with our bot. Okay, so this is the endpoint which will be always accepted or exposed by your Azure bot. Other important thing here is that each of the Azure bot will have a unique ID, which we just call it as a Microsoft App ID. So every time this one will be generated automatically, which probably you will be able to add to your configuration. So if I go into the app settings.json, this is the Microsoft App ID that we have, and with which we are able to identify that bot uniquely. Again, in order to get authenticated against this bot, you can just click on manage, and here we have other options to get authenticated ourselves with the bot. So here, if you go into the certificates and secrets section, if you have a certificate, you will be able to upload that certificate. If in case you don't have a certificate, just click on new client secret. Just provide some kind of a description here why you are creating the secret, and then you will be able to create a client secret key for maximum up to 24 months. So you can create that, and once you create that, just note down the value, because the next time when you will revisit this page, this one will be hashed out. So you will be just able to see the first two or three characters. The others will be hashed out. They will be entirely marked with stars. So we just have to again give that value here, so that we will be able to get authenticated against that bot. So once we do that, at least we are pretty much ready with our bot. Now that our bot is ready, we just want to educate our bot, like which are those channels where the users will be able to locate the bot and have a communication with that. So that thing we'll be able to do from channels. So once you go into the channels, there are various channels available where you will be able to host your bot. And then web chat will be always one there where you will be able to use that bot against. But apart from that, we do have other options like Microsoft Teams, Alexa, Direct Line, and other part, right? So even there, you will be able to host that. So let us go one by one and see how first you will be able to use this bot in a web chat. So website will be by default channel which is available to your bot. So just click on that web chat and then click on this default site. If you want, you will be also able to create a new site here with some kind of an configurations, but we'll just go here, and then here it will generate a embedded code for you. So you can simply copy that code, go back to your website. So I already have my own website which is running onto a URL. If I go into this is my website, but this one is not hosted on WordPress or anything else. But this particular website is hosted on Git pages, and it has been developed using Jenkins and Git pages. All right. So I will miss that means I do have entire control over how the look and feel of that site should be, and I will be able to make changes as and when I need. I don't have to be dependent on WordPress or any of the website to get this one done. Okay, so now that I have my website, if I want to host a bot, something like this onto my website, how can I go about it? So, for example, if I just go into any of the pages, let's say, for example, if I go into the master head page, which is the heading kind of a page for my website, so that means this portion of my website is being uh, delivered from that path. I just want my bot to be hosted somewhere here so that it will be just appearing there, and I will be able to have some communication. Obviously, not a good way to have bot at the top. Probably we should have it somewhere onto the left hand side or right hand side, so that we'll be able to have locate the bot and communicate with that, as well as it is kind of an universal standard as well. But just for the demonstration purpose, I will keep it at the middle of the or at the starting of this site, and then we will see it. So I just have added that iframe here, which is the same kind of an inline code which was provided from here. And then first thing that here it is talking about the secret key. So that secret key you will be able to get from here. So just click on this show icon. It will generate a secret key. Copy that secret key, paste it here. Oh, sorry, paste it here, and then you will be able to use that bot in your website. So right now I'm just running the local version of my bot. I don't want to get it published on my actual site. So this is how it will look like. So right now this one is still running onto the local host. Let me just do a quick refresh since this one is a stale version. All right. So now that, let's say, for example, if I just say hi, it should return us some kind of a card. Okay. So because hi is not in our menu, so it will just go ahead and return that. Let's say, for example, if I just go ahead with the flight, hopefully my code is good, then it should be able to return us the flight related information. And again, for example, if I just say game here, in that case it should be able to return us some kind of an a random game. Okay, so right now this one has just written us the spider game. If I say a weather, it should be able to give us the weather kind of information, right? So this is how simply we'll be able to embed our bots into the website. So now that let us see how even we'll be able to embed that in something called as a Microsoft Teams. So Microsoft Teams is again kind of an communication channel at the organization level to have a conversation within each other, and it is again kind of an collaboration workspace as well. So even here there are few configurations required, but after that you will have this bot up and running inside your Microsoft Teams. So right now I just have deployed this particular bot to my team. I will just show you that bot, and then probably I will go into those configurations. So I will be able to invoke that bot by @AC bot. So this is adaptive card bot. I just have named it as a AC bot, and I will just say hi. So once I just say hi, it is not in our command, so it will just go ahead and then pick up any of the random card, and it will just place it here. So again, it is not just that we are limited to only see the information from adaptive card, but even there we can place some kind of an buttons or some kind of an controls from where we will accept the information from our end users, and then Those one will be the actionable buttons, and user will be able to send some kind of an information from bot to our code, and then we will be able to process that as well, right? So this is how it works. If I want to quickly show you how the configuration is, in that case I can just go into this bot that I had developed, or probably I can go into the App Studio. So App Studio is getting deprecated, but I will still use until unless it is there. So I think this is a place from where I had configured that. Okay, I'm not able to look at that, but let me just see if I can able to directly see AC bot. Okay, even I don't have it here. But the only thing is like each of the card that we have got here, or each of the application or each of the app that we have got here has got some kind of a manifest. So if you just want to get that manifest, probably you can just search on Microsoft Teams manifest or bot, and then you should be able to get that manifest. So whenever we are just observing anything from that manifest, or we are adding the values to that manifest as it was requested, we can just create that manifest. We can zip two icons together to it for our bot, and then simply it can go from there. So for example, if you can see here, this is the manifest, and probably we'll be able to use this particular app as a configurable tabs or static tabs or maybe bots. So bots is the thing that I had chosen for, and then I simply given the Microsoft app ID which was registered with the bot framework here, and then rest of the other thing like where I want to scope this bot to, and simply I just had uploaded that zip to to the Microsoft Teams, and I was able to use this, right? So this is how we will be able to simply use this kind of an bots. We'll be able to develop this kind of an bots, and then probably host that onto our website or maybe onto the Microsoft Teams chat. So even though this was a basic kind of a demonstration of bot, but at least this gives you the kind of an possibilities through which you will be able to develop your own logic in a bot, and then you will be able to host it anywhere. So simply that means you will be able to create a bot, host that in Microsoft Azure, and then you will be able to use that or integrate that with all of your systems. All right. So with that, probably I will hand it over to Kunj, and he will drive us to few more advanced concepts. So over to you, Kunj. Please take it
Thank
away.
you. Thank you, Nandip. Yeah. So without taking much time, let me share my screen. And today we'll be covering what we called as question answering. So, or what we call as FAQs, or previously it was known as Q&A maker, but after 2025 Azure is going to deprecate Q&A maker. So what we'll do is we'll not call it we'll not use the Q&A maker, but we'll use the latest service which is provided from Azure, which is known as question answering. Okay, so what the first question which comes up to our mind is, what is question answering? Okay, so it is nothing but a service or a cognitive service provided from Azure, which we can leverage into our bots. So to make our bots more interactive, or to get them some knowledge, so we are not going to use some eco bot in our production environment. We are going to use our bot so that they could give us some answers, they could help us in do some stuff, or they could make our lives more easier. So in that case, it is more it is more helpful for the bot to learn something or gain something from what we call it as the questions, and we will also provide us will also provide bot the answers as well. So if you see, this question answering service can even leverage NLPs as well. So what happens, let's say for example you type a question called as how are you, but in our question bank we does not have a question called as how are you, but we have a question called as how you. So the bot would be able to understand what we are trying to say using the NLPs, and would provide us the answer based on that question itself. So in this session, we'll just understand how we can leverage this Azure based AI cognitive services for question answering. So this particularly question answering services falls under the language part of the cognitive services, which actually Smita has mentioned for all the different kinds of cognitive services which we have. Okay, and for this cognitive service to understand or to get the knowledge out of it, we have a a key value pair or something called as database. We call this as a knowledge base. So if you see, we feed in the data to our question answering services, and this data would be used to provide us the answer to that the questions which we are providing to the bot. Now, when to use our question answering makers, or when to use this kind of bot? So whenever you only want to have static answers, so there could not be multiple answers, or there could not be a decision based on that. It should be a static answer. So how are you should always be okay, I am good, or I am fine. There could not be like 10 different answers, or based on some conditions, or based on some if and else, or some other different decision making things we want to display a different answers. So it should not be that kind of thing. If we want to have some decision kind of thing, we should be using decision services in that case. Along with that, when we want to filter out static information, so let's say for example, we are going into some organization, they have multiple FAQs. So when you are joining some new organizations, you want to know what is your role, or how you can connect to their VPN, or what are the things there are in the intranet. So to make your life more easier, you do not have to go to HRs or any of your teammate to ask them. You can just go to this bot and ask the query or question, and it would answer. So this answers would be particular, like how you want to connect to VPN. So there would be few steps which you want to follow, and then you would be connected to VPN. Or so to leverage this kind of thing, we are using question answering maker service. Okay, so without taking much time, let us go directly to how we can create the question answering services. For that, what we can do is we can go to Language Studio. So what is Language Studio? It is a Azure based language cognitive services studio, wherein we can create all different kinds of like applications based on language cognitive services, which is provided by Azure. So if you see, we have a section called as Create Now. So inside this Create Now, we have multiple options. So we can have conversational language understanding. So this is nothing but a LUIS based, wherein we can type something, it would understand based on our languages. And it could even understand different languages, not only English. It could understand Hindi, it could understand French, it could understand multiple languages which are provided by Azure Cognitive Services. Other than that, we have text classification. So wherein if you can train your cognitive language cognitive services to understand what text it is, or what text you are trying to tell when you are typing something. So for current demo, we are going to use custom question answering, wherein we'll use this services, and we'll create a bot out of it. Okay, so we'll click on custom question answering. The first thing which we are asked is, what is the language resource? Okay, so for using this, we need to have Azure Cognitive Language Services predefined into our tenant. So I am currently logged into a particular account. This account should have a language service, language cognitive services running inside it. So what I have done is, I have already set up this services. So if I go to my resource group, inside this resource group, I have something called as Azure Cognitive Services. And inside this cognitive service resource group, we have created a cognitive service called as Azure Cognitive Services for Language. So if I click on this, we can see all the things which are available for this particular Azure Cognitive Services based on this language thing. Okay, and we can use this to create our question answering and other different cognitive applications. So I'll provide the name of the project, and a demo, and we'll just provide the description. This is not a required field, we can just type anything. And the source language. So whenever we are creating a language services, we can just have a source language. What would it be? Like it could be English, it could be other languages as well. And we can even provide the default answer when no when our service does not know what questions it is asked. So we can say that I do not understand this question, please try with a different question. So this would help user that they can either change the language, or our bot or our Q&A maker does not have this question, so they can just type something else or they can try something else, or we can even take a feedback so that from the next time onwards we can have an answer for that particular question as well. So once I create click on create project, the Q&A maker service would be created. So if you see, the like the question answering services is already created, and now we can add resources. So we can have resources from URLs, files, or chit chat. So we can have our questions and answers in a key value pair. So what we'll do is, for today's demo purposes, we will use M365 F docs FAQ. If I go to frequently asked questions, so there are few of the questions which are asked frequently, and most of the times websites tends to do is write it down and we can just create a bot out of it. So what is M365? What happens to Office 365 Business Enterprise Plan? These are all the questions. We can just provide the URL and everything would be taken care by itself. So I can just provide the name. It is M365 FAQs and just provide the URL. Everything would be auto detected. We can also have an unstructured one wherein the auto detection would not be there. But for today's demo purposes, this would be auto detected. So I just want to display that we can create a bot without writing a single line of code and leverage all the services which is provided by Azure. Okay, so in the meantime, what we'll do is we'll just understand what is knowledge base. Okay, so knowledge base is nothing but a placeholder where we can keep our questions and answers. It is always in a key value pair, and we can even have multiple questions for a single answer, but not vice versa. So it can be taken from semi-structured or structured things. So if we see, when we are seeing from the URL, so what we have done is we have just provided a URL and it would auto detect everything. So it is kind of a structured thing. Or we can even have a database wherein we have this FAQs in a table or something, and it could even be from an semi-structured thing. For semi-structured, what it could be, like it could be from a document, PDF, it could be from a Excel. So these are kind of a semi-structured thing. So we can create our knowledge base from all these sources. So in the meantime, let us just check whether our service is created or not. Okay, it has done everything. What we'll do is we'll just check how our knowledge base look. Okay, if I go back to knowledge base, see, all the questions are added. So our Microsoft 365 deployed and adoption resource. If I go over here and if I search for, these are the questions which are detected directly by our cognitive services. And what we'll do is we'll leverage this. We can even add a question answer pair as well, and we can even test. So we can just type any question. So let's say, for example, what is Microsoft 365? We'll type something over here. What is Microsoft 65? And it should give us an answer that what it is, and this answer is coming directly from our FAQ, so it should be the same answer which is provided over here. Okay, and there is another functionality called as include short answers. So if you do not want to have a long answer, because this is a long answer, what we'll do is we can just short it out. Like it would not provide us a bigger answer, it would understand what is the main crux of this answer and it would provide us with that answer. So if you see, we have a short answer wherein we just have like 2-3 lines. Okay, so now once we have our knowledge base ready, we'll try and deploy this knowledge base. Okay, so deploying a knowledge base is just a click away. Just click on deploy and it would get deployed into our Azure services. Once it is deployed, we can create a bot out of it and leverage it in any of the things. Like as Nandeep mentioned, we can leverage it in website, we can leverage it in Teams. So for today's demo purposes, what we'll do is we will see how we can leverage this into our Microsoft Teams. Okay, so if you see, when our knowledge base is deployed, we'll get something called as, okay, it has been deployed and this is the URL. We can get the read the documentation how we can use this, or else we can even get the prediction URL. So one very important thing is this is a REST based API. So what we can do is we can even use this directly into different applications as well. So let's say we do not want to create a bot, and we just need to use this question answering services in something else, in our website or into our web application or somewhere else. We can just leverage this REST based API. So what we'll do is we'll just copy this URL. We'll go to our Postman. Okay, just give me a moment. In the meantime, if you see, we even get a sample request as well. So even we can directly use this sample request and leverage this services. Okay, so in the meantime, let the Postman run. Okay, so just a moment. Any questions till now, if anyone has, from the chat window? If not, okay, let the Postman get up and running. In the meantime, I'll click on create bot so that it would start creating the bot as well. I'll copy this URL, go to this. I'll create a new Postman URL. I'll go to this, paste the URL. All the REST based API which we are calling for the question answering is a post based method. So we need to have it in a post section. And if you see, there are few of the headers which we need to provide. So we need to provide the subscription key. So if I copy this, go to our Postman, I go to the header section and paste subscription key. Along with that, the content type of our body is also a JSON application JSON. What we'll do is just copy this and we will paste it into our Postman body section. Go to row and application JSON. We'll send. So if you see over here, there are few additional things. So currently it is showing me resource not found. So we need to update few things. If you see, we need to provide the question over here. We need to provide what is the threshold limit which we want to see. So if you see, there is something called as confidence score. So confidence score is nothing but the prediction model. So whenever you are typing a question, it could be like 80% sure that the service is 80% sure, or the service is 50% sure. So this indicates what is the threshold you want to set. So it could be either 50%. If it is below 50%, you do not want to show that answer, or you just want to show that it like I don't know what is the answer. So here you can just set those thresholds values. Okay, so this is how we can just leverage our Q&A maker. In the meantime, what we'll do is we'll create a bot as well. And if you see, when I click on create a bot, automatically we'll be redirected to our Azure services, where a bot would be created without writing a single line of code. Okay, so if you see, a bot service is created, web app bot, and I can just change the pricing standard as well. We can just use a free, or we can just leverage the standard. We'll just use a free one. This is the endpoint where our bot would be hosted. So this is where it would be hosted. The language resource key is the knowledge base key which got created. So this is the GUID which got created. We can even leverage Node.js, or we can just use the C#. Okay, the code would be automatically generated. No need to write a single line of code. So once I click on create, okay, we need to choose a service plan. Let me just click on this service plan. We'll just create a new service plan. We can just specify the location as near as possible, and we'll just create. Once we click on create, behind the scenes, web app service would be created, and Azure bot would be created. This Azure bot, as Nandeep has shown, it has channels, it has configuration. All these things would be auto populated. No need to write anything, no need to do any configuration. Everything is handled by Azure itself. So just understand how easy it is to create any bot in Azure. So this is the power of using cloud-based services, wherein we can just do everything with a click of button. Okay, and we can just, if you want to extend few things, we can just extend it by writing our code and all those stuff using DevOps and all those stuff. So now our one of the service is already got created. So if you see, all the running commentaries get displayed over here. So we need to just wait for a few seconds. In the meantime, it gets created. This is taking like it. This would take a few minutes. Please note, we can just use any other FAQs as well. No, it is not restricted to Microsoft 365 or any Microsoft based application. We can leverage FAQs from any other websites as well. So let us go to the resource and just see what is created. So if you see, the web app bot is created. In the configuration, everything is already configured. So the /API/messages is already configured. The bot ID is present, so we'll use this bot ID. Okay, if I go to the channel section, the web chat is already present. Now if I want to test this bot, I'll just go to the test in web chat, and I will type any questions from this FAQ. So now let us try some different question. How do I set up my Microsoft 365 service? So if I go to my web, and if I go to how do I set up my Microsoft 365 service? Do I set up my 365 service? If you see, we will get an answer from this particular FAQ specifying that, okay, what we need to do. So this would be same answer which is present over here. Okay, and now we can just add new channels. So we can use this bot into our Telegram or into our Teams, or we can have an Alexa web skill as well. So anything we want, we can just do it. For time purposes, we'll use it in Teams. I'll just agree a few things. There are two different options for Microsoft Teams. We can use it in commercial as well as in the government as well. But for today's demo purposes, we'll be using in commercial purposes. We just need to add the channel, and we already have created a manifest. So if you see, there are a few of the things which are already populated. We just need to update the bot ID. That's it. I'll update the bot ID, save it. So this is present under the bot section of the manifest, wherein we'll just update the bot ID. We'll just update the scope as well. So this is currently for the personal, but we can update for the group chat or team as well. Okay, once it is done, I'll just zip this thing. Okay, I'll go to my teams, and we'll just update this into our teams package. Once we add this, a bot would be added to our teams, and we can leverage all the FAQs from the Microsoft 365 FAQ website. We can just have it into our bot directly. So to upload any custom bot or any of the application into our teams, we just need to go. So Just give it a second. I'll just explain you. Okay, we need to go to this app section. Just click on this apps. Once we click on this app, we have something called as upload section where we can just manage our apps. So if I click on manage your apps, there is something called as upload an app. So this upload an app would accept a zip file which contains three files called as two images which would be displayed into our app, and a manifest file which would contain all the information related to our Teams based application. So if I click on upload an app, it's taking much time, not sure why. If I click on upload an app, I'm not sure why my pop-up is not coming up. I'm not sure why the Teams is not responding. Just give it a second.
Couldn't please check if the pop-up is blocked? Yes, I know it is not exactly a pop-up, but or maybe you
Correct.
can unshare for a moment and then reshare.
Yes, just a moment. I'll just reload the site if that helps. Let me just stop sharing, and let me just check if the pop-up comes up. Just a moment. Click on upload an app. Yes, here it is. If I click on upload a custom app, I should be asked to select. Okay, here it is. Now if I go to the documents wherein I have my Q&A bot and we have the demo, I just upload this file, and our custom application for the Teams is ready with the bot altogether. We can just click on add and the bot is ready. We can ask a new question. So we'll just take what forms of payment can I use. Go to the Teams pack. It is adding. Once it is added, it would be added into our personal scope. So I can go back to my Teams. So this is the greetings which is provided, and I can ask any question. So it would go to our Azure bot and provide us the answer. Okay, so this is the answer, and if you see, it has the answer is in a good form, so we can just read it and leverage the bot. So without writing a single line of code, we can leverage or create a bot using Azure, and we can use our question answering services to get the data from different websites or structured or semi-structured place. So with this, I would like to thank everyone for giving us this opportunity for presenting our knowledge. So I would like to thank Reskill and even our Pune Tech community for being a part of it, and all the speakers and all the attendees for being there on Saturday. I know that it is very difficult for you to stay here and just learn the few things. Hopefully, you have learned something from our demo.
So
So
thanks a lot, Pete sir and Anandip sir. So actually, I just wanted to share a fun fact. Like recently, my exams are over, and in that we had the knowledge based thing. So uh, the theoretical knowledge base, and today I saw what actually knowledge base is, how you can, what is the confidence, like we had numericals on confidence, so what actually confidence is. So thanks a lot for sharing that thing, and I think a lot of people might relate to that, and it would have been better for them to understand it. So that's the main thing. So
Correct.
first
And I hope like everyone would try this out because I think most of you might be getting a free Azure subscription as well for
yeah.
a year. So you can just try it out, and it is very easy to create and just have your hands on.
Yeah. So I will just I have a small quiz for all the participants so that they can have fun playing the quiz. So I will just quickly share my screen. So everyone, you can just to play the quiz, you can just either scan the QR code or go to www.menti.com and enter the game code. So you can enter the quiz. Or let's do it after some time. So just give me a moment. We will be hosting this quiz in the Discord of Azure Developer Community. So it would be great if you join the Discord of Azure Developer Community, and there will be having all these quiz. So hope you had a great time at Azure DevDay Pune. So Satak sir, over to you.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Sarthak Jain, and I'm from Team Reskilll. After this rainy season and after the sudden rain, we need to change the venue to online, and we are very happy that over 100 of participants join us today in this lovely session. And thank you all the speakers, including Siddharth Sir, Kon Sir, Mandeep Sir, Rahul Sir, and Smita Ma'am. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Munank, for such a lovely audience. You guys have done something great. And we are back again. All the links are in the description. You can join our Discord community, Azure Developer Community. We're hosting a quiz over there, and we are having daily quizzes, daily learning session over there. So if you want to know more about this, kindly join our Discord channel or follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter. Thank you everyone for having us. Thank you very much. Thank you, Munank.
Thank you everyone for joining.